What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 14 Shish. Chapter 331 Ask, how much is the reward for pirates? Among the cadres of Ice and Fire Island, the number of cadres is different from that of others. Their Yeti brothers are a cadre place that two people use together. Although they are also cadres. But compared with others, after all, it is a little less compelling. Especially when standing with other cadres, or when everyone gets together occasionally. The two Snowman brothers, who occupy one cadre, always feel a little aggrieved when facing other cadres. Scourge said this, just in Locke's arms. But for Scourge, this is just an immature idea after all. As an older brother, Locke is still much more mature than his younger brother. He said slowly, this matter is not in a hurry, after all, the Harpy is the only woman here, so it is very suitable to coax children in the dessert house. What's more, the snow fruit she eats can produce, 177, enough to create low temperatures, and Lord Gysaw also needs her to help freeze the dead bodies of the test subjects. This time if the Harpies still fail, we can take the opportunity to ask Lord Gysaw to revoke the Harpies' cadre status. 35. Scourge nodded. He touched the huge sniper rifle behind him. The barrel of this sniper rifle could already be regarded as a small cannon to others. This is why they are 100% confident in their assassination. No one can hit such a bullet and still be alive and kicking. Walk. The two snowmen continued to run wildly. Chen walked all the way. When approaching the warehouse, there was a hint of joy in his eyes. That's great, I'm sure I can make a lot of money again this time, so much Bailey, how should I spend it? Thinking of the extravagant life in the future, Chen couldn't help rubbing his hands. Previously, Nami managed the money of all the coupons, and they had a limit on a lot of spending on the ship. Nami is more able to manage expenses than his girlfriend. This time, he secretly came out to plunder a wave of warehouses, and it was entirely his own private money. I hope this warehouse is also an artificial animal devil fruit, so it can definitely sell for a high price. Chen was looking forward to it. Devil fruit is different from what most people think, it will not depreciate as the number increases. On the contrary, even if it is an artificial animal devil fruit, and it is only the most common kind. Ordinary people can greatly improve their strength, speed, resilience and so on after eating. Think of the PCO of Enies lobby at the time, they ate ordinary artificial devil fruit. Luffy and they were able to fight evenly with them before eating, but after eating. Luffy even risked his life, fighting with his life burning. If it hadn't been for the last win of the Golden Mary, the entire Straw Hat Pirates might have been completely planted in the Enies lobby. If you put a lot of this stuff together, you can completely give yourself a super huge army of zone fruit power users. Perhaps, Sanji's father, the king of the scientific kingdom, Germa, Vinsmoke Judge, would be very interested. After all, in order to improve its combat effectiveness, the Science Kingdom directly selects the most powerful soldiers for clone production. Just imagine, if these powerful clone troopers all eat the artificial animal devil fruit. Strong on top of strong. A super devil fruit army that absolutely obeys its own orders, the strongest Germa army is born. Especially, Chen remembered, after going to Big Mom's territory, Sanji left and returned to Germa. Vinsmoke Judge used Sanji to marry Big Mom, just to gain Big Mom's support. If there is such a force, I believe that the other party will definitely pay a high price to himself for this result. Thinking of this, Chen couldn't help but smile. He looked at the warehouse door in front of him, opened Kamui directly and walked in. Ha ha ha, so happy. The moment you enter, Chen was stunned. The warehouse is arranged to look like a huge kindergarten. The various things inside are hundreds of times larger than their normal size. It's just a stool for a child to sit on, and it looks like a small mountain. In the middle of the room, a beautiful woman was playing with a group of children who were 10 meters taller than her. Chen was stunned. Wait, what about the warehouse? What about devil fruit? Did I go to the wrong place? Or did I get in the wrong way? Chen stepped out, changed his posture, and walked in again. Child. Exit again, 0. Child. After exiting, switch positions and do it again. 7. At this time, a huge child stretched out a chubby finger and pointed at Chen who was going in and out of the corner. She looked curious. Sister, why doesn't this guy come out? All eyes turned to look over. Staring at Chen embarrassed. He stood there, not knowing whether he should quit now or come out. Stunned for a long time. He looked at these children who were a few meters or more than 10 meters taller than him, and reached out to greet them. Hello everyone. The children were all very polite, and hurriedly reached out to Chen and greeted him. Hello. The beautiful woman on the side changed her expression. Seeing this familiar black-clothed man in front of her, she thought of something bad. Red Eye Trainer, what are you doing here? She stretched out her hand to protect all the children behind her, and looked at Chen vigilantly. Does this guy know me? Chen glanced at this beautiful woman and turned around a little in his mind. He didn't remember meeting this woman. However, for this place where the newspaper is more developed than the internet, the wanted list of 1 billion Bailey must have attracted the attention of many people. This woman can know her name by paying more attention to the pirate bounty. This is not surprising. Chen thought about it and decided to tell the woman about his purpose. I want to find the warehouse where the artificial devil fruit is stored. I remember this place. If it's convenient for you, why don't you tell me? When Lu Chen said that, he was really embarrassed. It's as if you go to someone else's house and see how good the money is in someone else's house, and you say to that person, "Where is your vault? I'll go to your vault to carry 2 pounds of banknotes." But no way, he thought he had memorized the route. But who knew that this base was a bit more complicated than he imagined? Seeing that Lu Chen had no ill will towards the children behind him, the harpy was also relieved. But she didn't expect that the red-eyed trainer would be so bold, not only broke into the base, but also set his sights on the artificial devil fruit of Mr. Geisa. Chapter 332 But a knife, the red-eye trainer. Really bold. However, when she thought of the reward amount of 1 billion yuan, she understood a lot about Lu Chen's behavior. After all, it is a pirate with a bounty of up to 1 billion. This pirate bounty is probably only comparable to Shichibukai. How can a pirate with such a bounty be able to see the treasure that ordinary pirates can only see? The other party must be taking what is best for him. Such as these artificial devil fruit. It seems that this guy's ambitions are quite big. This action alone offended not only Marine, Shichibukai's, Heavenly Yaksha, Doflamingo, but even 4 emperors, and Kaido. This is already equivalent to offending half the world. Lu Chen looked at the harpy in front of him. Fortunately, he doesn't know how to read minds, and he doesn't know that in the heart of the harpies, he has already made up for him a plan to build a devil fruit army, complete the voyage, support the pirate king, defeat the 4 emperors, and finally overturn the world. His real purpose? Just want to make some extra money. Oh too, but the harpy didn't know this. She took a deep breath and was shocked by the other party's plan. Red-eye trainer, what a big plan you have. Lu Chen. What? Seeing Lu Chen's dazed expression, not wanting to admit it, the harpy clenched her fists tightly, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. As expected of a red-eyed trainer with strange abilities. Deep thinking and scheming. At this point, he is still pretending to be stupid in front of him. He refused to show any intention of planning in the slightest. But you can't hide it from me. Red-eye, I know everything about you. The harpy's expression flashed a hint of pride, but the safety of the children behind her was the most important thing. She quickly pointed Lu Chen to a warehouse. That is the #1 warehouse where Mr. Geisa keeps the most artificial devil fruit. Many boutique artificial animals' devil fruit are all hidden there. Looking at Lu Chen who left in a hurry, the harpy let out a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, the red-eye trainer came here. It seems that his partner has also arrived at the base. This place is no longer safe, she must protect the safety of these children. As soon as the thought in his mind came up, the door of the warehouse collapsed suddenly. A man with green hair stood in the doorway. He also held a strange black knife in his hand. He glanced around. A little strange. How did I come to this place? Did I go to the wrong place again? Seeing the vicious Zoro, even with a knife in his hand, which was completely different from Lu Chen, made these children cry. Some children even backed away frantically, trying to find a place to hide themselves. Zoro, who saw this scene, was also taken aback. He just slashed the door. How does it feel like a hornet's nest has exploded? Excuse me, can you tell me how to go to the depths of the base? It's better to show me a way. Before he finished speaking, a white snowflake was already set off around him. It was clearly an underground warehouse, but snowflakes fell directly from the ceiling. A snowflake fell on Zoro's knife. Killing intent pervades. Zoro didn't even think about it, he slashed the snowflake in half with his knife. Snowflake changed slightly and turned into a small harpy. She shouted sharply, "You be asterisk 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 D, leave me here and become a frozen man." Call. Everything between heaven and earth turned white. Snow fruit. Snowstorm. Huh, shooting at me, it seems to be Guy's subordinate. Zoro opened his mouth slightly and let out a cold breath. He narrowed one eye and looked into the distance. In front of the covered eyes, only a dozen meters in the distance can be seen. On the ground covered with snow, no obvious signs could be seen, and Zoro had no way to tell where he was in the room. Interesting. Zoro laughed, and Kaden Kyokutsu was wrapped in a purple-black aura. That breath is not like hockey, because it does not have the stronger ability of hockey, and it cannot solidify the sword itself. If you look carefully, you will find that the breath comes from Zoro's body, and naturally covers the blade's surface with his movements. Although it can't make the knife harder, it also adds a touch of weirdness to the knife. You can also feel a biting coldness from the inside. It was pure killing intent condensed into ultimate. Just a moment of coverage. The snowflakes close to Zoro began to tremble. Before it landed on the knife, it was naturally blown away in midair, and then split into 2. Since it's Guy's subordinate, then I'm welcome. Zoro is a little on the ground with 1 foot. The whole person turned into an arrow from the string, and the 2 knives cut a straight line in the blizzard. In an instant, a clear path was cleared. On that road, the wind and snow suddenly vanished. Cece remained ghostly on the path, turning it into a part of the ghost. The body of the harpy has been divided into 2 on the path of ghosts. She is shaking. Both halves of her body were shaking. It was obvious that there was no hockey on the knife, so it couldn't hurt her who was Logia snow fruit. A chill that penetrated the bone marrow. But it penetrated deep into her body from where it was cut, and even soaked her soul. It wasn't just her body that was shaking at the moment. And soul. She trembled and moved her eyes diligently, looking at the back of the green-haired man behind her. This man is even more terrifying than the red-eyed trainer with a reward of 1 billion. In the face of her blizzard, Lu Chen was just passive defense. If he didn't get angry at that time, he would definitely kill Lu Chen. But this man was just a slash, not only emptied her blizzard, but even cut open her body. Let her not even recover. In particular, the two huge black samurai swords in the opponent's hands were not ordinary swords at all. When it was cut on the body, it felt like it was cut on the soul. A soul blade that can damage the soul. There was a panic in the harpy's heart. Isn't there a normal one among these guys? Why does each one not look good, but the strength is more terrifying than the other? In an instant, the harpy's mind already had the idea of running away. Strange, I'm obviously walking in a straight line, doesn't it mean that as long as you keep walking, you can get there? Zoro didn't look back after the slash. He put away Kaden Kyokutsu, wondering as he walked forward. The method Usopp said doesn't work. Chapter 333 White Bear, Beppo. It was not until Zoro was gone for a long time that the harpy returned to its human form. But her body was still shaking. Even a group of children surrounding her did not let her slow down. Looking at the group of children surrounding her, a resolute expression flashed in the eyes of the harpy. No, I have to leave this place with this group of kids. These children are all test items of the giant soldiers of Lord Geisa, and they are also the ones with the best research results. As long as these children are protected, Lord Gaisa's giant soldier experiment will be able to advance very quickly. When it is completed, it will even be possible to create giants that are even stronger than the giants. By that time, Lord Geisa will be the greatest scientist in the entire world, not even Vegapunk. Thinking of this, the harpies gathered these huge children without hesitation, and said softly, "Children, it seems that some bad guys have broken in at the base. Can I take you to a safer place?" Good. 35. The children have no opinion. After all, Zoro who suddenly appeared just now, the ghostly Shirachi had already scared them a lot. Especially the door of the warehouse was slashed open by Zoro. This place doesn't feel safe. Compared with harpies, children's minds are more sensitive and fragile. Just as the harpy stood up tremblingly and was about to leave with the children, a voice suddenly came from the side. Wait, this cry almost made the harpy collapse on the spot. Did you make a mistake? Come one by one. Is this fun? Is it fun to torture her? She is only a small cadre, why should she be so embarrassing? The harpy has not been removed from the influence of Zoro Shira's ghost. But, looking at these children around him, they are the most precious experimental objects of Lord Geisa, and even if he dies, he must protect them. Fight. The harpy turned back sharply, looking at the person she had come from. Opposite is a white fur clan, White Bear Beppo. The harpy was stunned. She never thought that the person who came this time was actually a member of the Heart Pirates. She knew Bai Shang Bibo. Luo had done experiments with Guy several times before, and Bai Shang Bibo was his assistant. It's not surprising that this guy appeared in the base. After all, in order to express his sincerity to Luo, Mr. Geisa specially allowed the members of the Heart Pirates to walk freely in the base. Just makes the harpy weird. How could this guy show up now? She asked, Beppo, what are you doing here? White Bear Babo blushed, and he apologized to the harpy again and again. I'm sorry, I know it's not appropriate to appear now, but our captain has an order. As he spoke, he walked quickly towards the harpy. The appearance of bowing his head and trying to admit his mistake was no different from usual. The harpies were also not on guard. After all, Luo often issued various orders before. For example, bringing candy to these children, or taking these children to check their bodies, it is said that it was ordered by the Lord Saw. It is necessary to use Luo's op fruit ability to help these children solve some of the sequelae of the gigantic body. She was a little repulsive at first. But after a long time, the two sides were at peace with each other, and Beppo the White Bear had a much better character than the prisoners in the base. In particular, the other party is used to admitting mistakes first when encountering things, which makes the harpy have a sense of superiority. In the face of such a guy, who can take precautions? Therefore, the harpies did not care too much. She shouted tiredly, Beppo, you came just in time, hurry up and help me, and then we will go to the depths of the base together. Intruders broke into the base, they are the Straw Hat Pirates, and they are very powerful. You have to get Guy Saw to activate that weapon quickly so that these guys can stay on the island. Hearing such words, the White Bear Bebo ran faster with his head lowered. I'm sorry, I'll be right over here. 35. The White Bear Bebo walked to the harpy's side, stretched out his hand to support the other's shoulder, and the other passed through the other's waist and picked up the harpy by the waist. Such a move made the harpy cry out in surprise. She is a woman after all, and suddenly someone treats her like this, and even hugs herself like a princess. It must have made her a little flustered. But before the harpy could feel the White Bear's chest, she heard the White Bear Bebo shout loudly. Subsequently, the whole body of the harpy was lifted up horizontally. It was smashed hard again. Her body was instantly broken into two pieces. But this time it was different from Zoro's knife. Zoro doesn't wrap Haki, it's Shira Ghost, plus Shinigami's blade, Kaden Kyokutsu. More damage to the soul. But Beppo the White Bear covered his knees with armament Haki. Such an attack, it was like hitting a harpy with a big hammer, and even smashed her whole body into two halves. Backquote. The severe pain of the waist being torn apart made the harpy's pupils dilate, and her back straightened violently, like a fish battling on the shore. She looked at the White Bear Bebo in disbelief. The other party dared to do something to herself, which was something she had never thought of. What was even more unexpected was that the opponent's shot was so vicious. With just one blow, she completely lost her mobility. Injured physically and mentally, she could only watch the white bear Babo take all the children away from the warehouse. Because every time Babo the white bear takes these children for treatment, they believe in Babo the white bear more than the harpies. Not to mention, they only need to use a little lie, like candy, to easily deceive the child. Just like when they lured their children to this island from their homes. Beppo, if you dare to do this, Lord Gaisa won't let you go. Seeing that the white bear Babo turned out to be leaving the base with the children, the harpy threatened in anger. And your captain, he will definitely not be the opponent of Lord Gaisa, but Lord Gaisa still has the strongest weapon, all of you can't escape. 35. The figure of white bear Babo was about to leave for a while, and he turned back to look at the harpy, his face still in that naive state. He laughed and published, I'm sorry, but I think what you should be most worried about now is Lord Gaisa. 99. After all, our captain's slaughterhouse, as long as the people in it, are equivalent to lying on the operating table in front of the captain. The harpy widened her eyes. Chapter 334, The Doubtful Brook. The harpy was stunned. What she was surprised was not how powerful Luo's abilities were, but how surprised she was. The information in the mouth of the polar bear Beppo. That is to say, heart pirates, this is not a sudden attack, nor is it the behavior of one of them. Instead, they go from top to bottom, from captain to crew. Everyone rebelled. Betrayal against Lord Gaisa. Such a situation shocked the harpy, and what worried her even more was the safety of Lord Gaisa. No one can hurt Gaisa. Gaisa, I'm coming to save you now. 35. The harpy clenched her teeth and tried her best to move her hands, trying to move herself to the lower level of the base. Tell Guy the news. But Beppo the white bear discovered the unwilling move of the harpy. He walked over to the harpy without hesitation, and reached out and touched the back of her head. I'm sorry, but I can only make you faint for a while now. While apologizing, white bear Beppo wrapped armament hockey around his hands and slammed the harpy to the ground. Boom. The ground cracked instantly. The harpy's whole body softened on the spot, her eyes turned white, and she fainted completely. White bear Beppo didn't hesitate, and quickly greeted all the children to follow him out of the desert house. All the Centaur patrol members he encountered along the way were easily killed by him. He glanced deep into the base. He knows. His own captain is now staying beside the most dangerous guy, trying his best to hold Guy. The later guys knew about it, the further away they were, the safer they would be. However, the captain himself was in great danger. Captain, you must come back safely. White bear Babo said secretly in his heart. But he ran with the children, who had to hurry to the edge of the island. On the coast, groups of Marines have come to the Ice and Fire Island. Came here and was Marine Vice Admiral, Smoker. He chased the Straw Hat Pirates to the New World, originally intending to wait and see on the route of the Grand Line. Waiting for the Straw Hat Pirates to throw themselves into the net, and then catch them all. However, he received Luo's request in the middle, so he turned around and took the lead to ambush near Icefire Island. Just to wait for an opportunity to capture Guy and save ACBD, the survivors on this island. Report Vice Admiral, has found the location of Vice Admiral Luo, please indicate. Smoker glanced at his surroundings casually, but was more interested in the battle between the two admirals. But now is not the time. He waved his hand. There are two teams, one team stays in place and is ready to receive survivors at any time, and the other team follows me to the base to capture all the prisoners and Guy on the island. Clear. The sailor saluted and went down to make arrangements. Smoker, however, looked up at the mountains covered in snow and lava in the distance, with a hint of admiration on his face. Is this the power of Marine Admiral? He clenched his fist. Although he can incarnate into smoke, he can also change part of the environment on a small scale. But compared to the ability to permanently change the terrain and climate of an island in front of him, it was still a lot younger. Inside the base, neither Gaisa nor the Straw Hat Pirates knew that Marine had come to the island. Chen followed the path pointed by the harpy. All the way forward. The snowman brother behind him was already stunned. Brother, what did I see? 99. Snowman's younger brother Scourge's eyes widened, unable to believe that he saw the red-eyed trainer calmly leaving in front of the harpy. His original idea of sniping Chen here was instantly shattered. The snowman brother Locke was also stunned. He figured out his huge gun barrel, and there was a look of doubt and suspicion in his eyes. This Monet just let the people from the Straw Hat Pirates go away, and before leaving, it seemed like she gave them directions. This woman can't be an undercover outsider. The younger brother nodded solemnly. He thought so too. But the matter is not over yet. They continue to hunt down Chen without hesitation. The younger brother was exhausted and panting. He gasped heavily. Brother, when we have the chance, we must not kill this guy all at once. The elder brother also nodded and said bitterly, yes, we must slowly torture this guy to death. Otherwise, I'm sorry for the distance we've traveled. 39. Puff puff puff. The deep footsteps of the snowman brothers sounded again in the entire passage. The other side. Brook went all the way down. Except for some centaur patrols on the road, they were all easily solved by him. At last. But he came to a cold room. The moment he entered the room, Brook's soul was frightened out. Ah. Ghost. Brook was out of his body with fright, and his well-maintained bones fell to the ground with a clatter. In front of him, it is a huge gray and white ice store. It was filled with corpses with distorted faces and strange postures. These corpses were all blocked in the ice, and they looked like weird murals. Brook stroked his chest again and again. He let out a long sigh, and then came to his senses. Oh ho ho, it turns out that I'm a ghost too. That's fine. Brook's soul returned to his bones, and elegantly arranged his dress. Looking at the ice sculpture corpses next to him again, Brook at this moment not only did not feel afraid, but even felt very kind. Oh ho ho, I never thought I would be scared by you guys, brothers are so naughty. Brook let out a self-deprecating laugh. He reached out and stroked his chin. But he was curious about the corpse's distorted expressions of jealousy due to pain, and the exaggerated upper body movements. Strange, why are your expressions and movements so exaggerated, but all of your lower bodies are motionless? 99. Is it because you are dancing? Brook thought for a long time without thinking of the reason. Simply, he held out his hand. Oh ho ho, since I don't understand, why don't you just ask yourselves directly? After all, there's nothing you don't know, isn't it? Brook stretched out his bony hands and pressed them against the ice. The black magic light condensed on his hands, and a huge black-purple rune formation instantly opened under his palm. Boom. Just in the blink of an eye. This black and purple rune formation enveloped the entire frozen house. The faint light shines on everyone's pale face. Chapter 335 Resurrection, Undead Black Magic. Empty empty. A sound came from the sound of magic being extracted from the void, and it sounded in the room one after another. The black and purple light on the formation is also getting deeper and deeper. The ice in the entire warehouse began to shake. From the slow vibration at the beginning, the speed of the vibration in the back is getting faster and more violent. To the end, the entire warehouse trembled, as if a small earthquake had occurred. A trace of soul aura shrouded the entire frozen warehouse. What's going on? The centaur guards patrolling in the distance have discovered the abnormality of the frozen house. They raised their hooves without hesitation and ran wildly on the aisle in the base. When they saw the warehouse door of the frozen house open, they immediately understood that someone had broken into the base. All the centaurs were furious. Damn it, who dares to break into the base with such a swagger, and even release such a powerful movement? It's just not taking us seriously. There was anger in the centaurs' eyes. One by one, they raised the huge axes in their hands and rushed forward. Prepare to chop the guys who broke into the base and are defiant together into meat sauce. But just rushed into the warehouse door, all the centaurs neighed in astonishment. They raised their hooves, desperately trying to stop themselves. Finally, Kankan stopped not far in front of Brook. One by one they looked at Brook in horror. It's even scarier than Brook's expression when he saw a ghost just now. Although Brook is a skeleton, it's hard to see expressions on his fleshless face. Yo, you are here too. Brook heard the sound beside him, but turned his head, and when he saw a bunch of centaurs opposite, a smile appeared on his face. The centaur's four legs were weak, and they were about to be scared to pee. It was originally a skeleton face whose expression was difficult to see, but under the faint black and purple light, it looked strange and mysterious. That feeling. It is no less than when you eat an apple, you eat half a writhing green worm, and when you eat bayberry, you spit out a fruit maggot from your mouth. Although not much damage, it is even rich in protein, crunchy and 6 times as nutritious as beef. But, psychological crit damage is too high. What's more, Brook nodded friendly towards the group of centaur guards. He said gently, "Wait a minute, I woke these brothers up." He paused for a moment, took a deep breath, and shouted in a condensed voice, "Undead dark magic. Dead, resurrection." Boom. Clack clack clack. The ice in the entire freezer shook violently. The gray-white ice cubes rustled to the ground, and the corpses that were originally dead and preserved in the ice layer fell heavily to the ground. The corpses struggled to move on the ground. Stiff joints made the sound of bones rubbing against each other. The souls returned to the body one by one, and the deceased who were still a little uncomfortable made a hee sound from their mouths. They thought they were alive, driving their stiff lungs and throats to breathe. But because one by one has been away for too long, the body has become completely stiff, and there is no way to control the stability of his body. They staggered and stood up from the ground, and even looked around curiously. There are resurrected people inside, seeing their acquaintances inside the centaur guards. His eyes lit up, and he let out a hee sound in surprise. It's a pity that the throat has been frozen for too long, and the stiff muscles can't make a sound at all. The dead man can only open his hands and hug his former friend. But such a move instantly filled the opponent's eyes with fear. Don't come here. A burly centaur man with a height of 2 meters and 5, who burned, killed, looted, murdered and set fire outside, was not even afraid of marine and death. Even if someone was beheaded in front of him and blood splattered on his face, he could eat breakfast with that blood expressionlessly. Iron-blooded tough guy, so be it. It was such a burly man who stood up from the ground when he saw his long-dead friend, his body and expression ashen. The blue-gray eyes stared straight at him, not only stumbled towards him, but even opened his mouth wide. You don't know if he's laughing or if he wants to rush over to bite you. Then, the squad leader of the centaur guards closed his eyes in fear, completely breaking his voice. But the newly resurrected corpse and soul were completely immersed in the joy of seeing their former good friend, so how could they know the fear of their good friend? 0 katakana middle dot for flowers. The centaur captain's 4 legs were weak, and he raised his feet like a big girl who saw a mouse. Waiting until the resurrected good friend finally rushed in front of him. The centaur squad leader, who had been completely taken over by terror, raised the giant axe in his hand without hesitation. A hammer smashed the undead that rushed in front of him to the ground, then turned around and turned around. The four legs turned into a hot wheel and rushed out with a swoosh. The other centaurs also followed in the footsteps of their squad leaders without hesitation, rushing out of the frozen warehouse with their four legs turned into hot wheels. Let the resurrected corpse behind him cry. They don't look back even if they are killed. Brook stood there, dumbfounded at the centaur team running faster than him. He looked down at his two bone-thin legs, and wondered if he should have two more legs. After all, running on four legs is really fast. Who are you, who resurrected us? The resurrected corpses staggered to their feet, and only after seeing the surrounding situation clearly did they realize that they had been dead for a long time. They all gathered in front of Brook. Many corpses even looked up and down at Brook's hole, their eyes filled with joy and contempt. Fortunately, they were frozen and kept their bodies. Look at this, brother. There was no meat left, only a pair of skeleton bones dangling outside. So blatant. Gee, but they could feel the incomparably powerful soul force in Brook's body. There is also the black magic smell of the resurrection of the dead that remains on the opponent. Only then did the bodies gather around Brook. One is the attraction of power. One is because of the desire for soul power in Brook. Seeing the corpses gathered around him, Brook quickly adjusted his appearance and smiled at the body in front of him. That's right, it's you who I resurrected. Resurrection you. In fact, I just have something I want to ask. Forehead. All the corpses were speechless. Just for one question, you resurrect all of us. Factory. Chapter 336. A wave of zombies is coming. If you want to ask questions, wouldn't it be good to just resurrect a person? It is really impolite to disturb the peace of the dead. The corpses looked at their bodies. But if you make us feel life for the second time, you will satisfy your request. Brook smiled. Oh, took off his top hat and gave the corpses a thank you gift. He opened his mouth and asked, what I want to know is why each of you has a hideous face, your hands are dancing wildly in the air, but your lower body is motionless. Are you doing some kind of dance? After understanding Brook's question, the corpses fell silent. They looked at each other. They all saw the doubts about Brook in the other's eyes. And ridiculous. What kind of people do you need to think that they are dancing when they see their tragic death? 177. They doubted whether this guy was a normal person. What? And many more. On the opposite side is a skeleton that can resurrect them. That's fine. After all, he is no longer a person. The corpse closest to Brook said, you don't know, all of us were originally prisoners on this island. But a few years ago, I also forgot the exact time, but just a few years ago, there was a huge gas leak all over the island. It is said that Vegapunk, the first genius scientist of Marine, and Geisa, another genius scientist, are conducting experiments here, but the experiment has an accident. Speaking of this, a body next to him said viciously, however, that Vegapunk is too damn it, not only blamed all the gas leak accident on Mr. Geisa, but even fled back to the Marine unit by himself. I heard that it was established later. Vegapunk's Science City. Brook nodded. If that's the case, then this guy named Vegapunk is really damn it. Before the corpses could finish speaking, they kneeled on the ground in reverence and said with emotion, but at this time, Mr. Geisa, who was regarded as a sinner by Marine, resolutely stayed in order to help the survivors on the island. He used all his strength, obtained a lot of money, and restarted the experiment, just to get those of us back to health. Brook wondered. If that's the case, why are you looking so painful? The corpses looked at each other and sighed. That's because the experiment was very painful. After all, the poison leaked from that experiment was terrifying. And the process of the experiment is full of dangers. If we can't hold on, we may die on the spot. 99. Hiss. Brook sucked in a breath of cold air, providing a little help to the warming of the pirate world. He looked at the corpse in front of him. A stiff, wry smile appeared on these people's faces. That's right, we guys are the ones who haven't survived the experiment. At this moment, someone's eyes showed nostalgia. I don't know how long it has been now, and whether everyone's sequelae have been cured. After so long, someone should be okay. They looked at Brook expectantly. I want to get the answer I want from Brook's mouth. But Brook was silent. After all, he is an intruder. Not to mention that I don't know if the mad scientist guy saw has cured others, even if he is cured. As soon as he said it, it is estimated that these bodies were dismantled in his mind. Look at the few ribs on your body. Brook didn't think he had enough of the corpses. Knowing the answer, he walked to the depths of the base without hesitation. The corpses behind him saw Brook move, and followed him without hesitation. A large crowd of people followed behind Brook. Everyone's face was ashen, grinning, and their rigid bodies swayed. Not to mention the number of people. In their state, it is enough to make anyone who sees it frighten and flee. After walking a distance, Brook turned back helplessly. What are you doing with me? The corpses looked innocent. You resurrected us, we don't follow you, who do we follow? 66. 99. Brook rubbed his temples. He just wanted to ask questions, and he didn't even think about what to do after resurrecting these guys. At this time, the faces of the corpses showed expressions of, what can you do to me? You can beat me if you have the ability, and, you can't kill me. It really makes people feel like these guys are dead. A corpse stood up and said, if you don't want us to follow, send us back Zoro. Yes, yes, send it back to us. The corpses were booing. They finally died and slept soundly in the dark. But being forcibly disturbed brought it back to reality. Resurrection is resurrection, mainly because no one thought that the situation after resurrection was worse than death. So they don't have a good face for Brook either. Please. We are all pirates of the sea. What have you not seen before, and what have you been afraid of? Don't think that if you resurrect us, we must listen to you and kill us if we can. Seeing that these dead pigs were not afraid of boiling water, Brook gave it a try. All right, although the master has acquired the power of the Bone King's black magic, he is still just getting started with resurrection. The magic power is completely different from the power, theory, and world among pirates. He was able to use the resurrection magic so smoothly, and he still benefited from the yellow spring fruit. But to send them back in reverse. Brook scratched his eyebrows, turned around and continued to walk deep into the base. Forget it. Just follow along, it's not a big deal for him. Then, in the entire base, a large group of zombie-like guys followed a skeleton into the depths of the base, and the story spread. All 1.3 Centaur patrols saw so many people in the distance, and the strange steps and faces of each other's zombies. One by one, they turned their heads without hesitation, their four legs turned into Hot Wheels, and they rushed out. This situation surprised Brook. I didn't expect these guys to follow behind me, there is actually such an effect. A time. Brook is having fun. He took out his violin from his body, and as he walked, he pulled the tune. It was a song that Chen let go of when everyone was watching a movie together in the fantasy world. As a superb musician, even though the piece was different from anything he had ever heard. But he still remembers every note and can interpret it perfectly. Boys, jump with me. Brook tapped the violin. Chapter 337 Luffy and Momonosuke. The violin sounded melodious. A melodious piece of Luo Tianyi's, burying Bis, came out. Subsequently, before the resurrected dead could react, Brook's violin voice suddenly became impassioned. Brook specifically asked Chen about the meaning of this song, and Chen told him that it was a song about a group of resurrected corpses dancing. Looking at the corpses behind him, Brook thinks there's no better place for this song than right now. Stand in a row with arms raised, swinging to the rhythm. People are acting weird, like a bunch of zombies. The music is fully turned on. Are you afraid of losing your soul? Enjoy it if you can't resist. Zombies are everywhere. You can't escape anyway, why don't you just keep dancing with us? Giving up your heart and brain turns you into zombies. With the music playing, a mighty soul force poured into the body of each corpse along with the sound of music. Originally disdained Brook, and even despised his corpses because of his skeleton body. They all felt their bodies shaking with the music. They were stunned to find that all the resurrected corpses began to stretch out their hands and stood in a neat queue. Then everyone shook their stiff arms and bodies, moved their legs neatly, and twisted their stiff waists. There was a neat sound of bone cracking. This is. What are we doing? These zombies were completely panicked. They felt as if they were being controlled by an invisible force, and the resurrected body had completely disobeyed their commands. Can only twist his body to the sound of Brook's music. Then, everyone saw it strangely. A leading skeleton pulled a tune melodiously in front of him, humming a song in his mouth. And the neatly lined zombies behind him, like the most accurate robots, swayed their rigid bodies and danced a strange dance. Even if you see people, these zombies are not chasing. A group of people danced and moved forward. Such a scene made the guys who had run away couldn't help but run back from a distance, and quietly watched it nearby. Even, listen and listen, they couldn't help but learn the appearance of those resurrected corpses, twisting their bodies and butts. Jumping and jumping, even thought it was very interesting. After discovering that these corpses were not malicious, many people even joined the dance queue. In the base, Brook led the growing, zombie dance troupe, and swaggered down the road. No one stopped. Not many people dared to stop it. As one of the members of the Straw Hat Pirates who went to the depths of the base, Brook was the most relaxed and the most arrogant. On the other side, Luffy walked alone in the passage of Black Blondin. As the main passage in the middle, the centaurs patrolled the most. But in front of Luffy, they couldn't stand the power of a punch. Strange, I've been walking for so long, and I haven't reached the deepest part of the base yet. Luffy looked at the bottomless passage and sighed helplessly. His stomach was already growling. Looking at the empty passage without even a kitchen, Luffy suddenly felt a wave of grievances. He raised his head and shouted, Sanji. Very loud sound. It spread melodiously along the channel. Sanji. Rule! Exclamation mark quote quote. The sound continued to echo in the channel, and finally disappeared slowly. After a long time, there was no one in the passage. This situation made Luffy sigh bitterly. How much he wants to eat Sanji's barbecue mousse cake barori fried rice and stewed soup. Or Chen's steamed lobster dumplings, steamed buns, pancakes and eggs. Right now so hungry. I'm so hungry I don't want to fight. Luffy sighed heavily, stood up listlessly, and strode forward. Just get to the depths of the base and meet up with your friends. After all, after reaching the depths of the base, Sanji must have prepared a big meal waiting for them. And he just had to go over and feast on it. Happy. Luffy thought so, and without paying attention, the whole person fell into a huge deep pit. A trap. 99. Luffy in midair jolted and stretched his arms without any hesitation. Rubber. Pistol. Boom. The arm quickly rushed to the sky. But because the surroundings were too dark, his arm slammed into the ceiling of the passage and returned and hit himself. Quote opening parenthesis question mark. Luffy fell to the bottom of the pit in shock. Fortunately, he is rubber itself, and this height will not hurt him, but it is very uncomfortable for Luffy. Judging from the feeling that he fell in just now, this pit is very, very deep. It was dark all around. He couldn't see the environment at all, and he couldn't find a way to get out of here. Just at this time, a ray of light suddenly lit up beside him. A child's face appeared in Luffy's eyes. The child had a round face with 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth and 2 ears. He was wearing a pink kimono and looked weak. Seeing this child, Luffy's eyes lit up suddenly, and he exclaimed in surprise, "You are Momonosuke." Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. The child was bewildered. He looked at Luffy in front of him, and 177's originally weak eyes lit up with a hint of vigilance. Who are you? How do you know my name? 99. Luffy laughed. I even forgot that I was still hungry. He leaned over to the child, patted him on the shoulder and said, my name is Monkey D. Luffy, you can call me Luffy. Afterwards, he raised his head proudly. I am the man who wants to become the Pirate King. It was Huhuo Kinemon who asked me to find you. Hearing that the other party wanted to become the Pirate King, Momonosuke's eyes flashed with disbelief. But the other party finally mentioned the name of a familiar person, which caught Momonosuke's attention. He asked anxiously, Kinemon, are they still alive? That's right, they're still alive. Luffy nodded. He hesitated, but said, but it seems like everyone's gone, so he's trying to get in touch with the other partners. I also helped him when he was passing by, and he promised to show us the historical text as long as I found you and when I got to Wano Kuni later. Hearing what Luffy said, Momonosuke's eyes were full of thought. From Luffy's words, he knew that Huhuo Kinemon should just have a few words with Luffy, and didn't have a deep chat. After all, the situation in Wano Kuni is very bad. If they want to show the historical text to Luffy in front of them, I'm afraid they need to do other things. Chapter 338 Momonosuke's Rice Balls. Momonosuke guessed. It should be Foxfire Kinemon's time pressure at that time, so I didn't say much. This Isshin, the loyal samurai who served the Kazuki Oden family, could hide something for his young master. Just to use this method to let the guy who was going to become the Pirate King in front of him help. After all, their current situation is really not optimistic. Such a situation, it really made Momonosuke tangled. After all, at Foxfire Kinemon, it can also be explained that time is tight, so there is no way to say too much. But as the last male bloodline of the Kazuki Oden family, he is not only responsible for returning to Wano Kuni, to regain the glory of the country and the Kazuki family. More importantly, in his daily behavior, he also inherits the lineage of the Kazuki family and insists on the samurai spirit. What Foxfire Kinemon didn't say to Mr. Luffy should be explained by his young master. While such behavior may cost them Mr. Luffy's help, Momonosuke clenched his fist and put the fire in his hand on the ground. He solemnly knelt on the ground, bowed his head apologetically and respectfully to Luffy. I am the last bloodline of the Wano Kuni Kazuki Oden family, Kazuki Oden Momonosuke. I am a man who is going to be the greatest Kun Lord, return to Wano Kuni, take back the power of my Kazuki family, and restore the glory of the samurai. Same opener as Luffy. The same lofty ideals as Luffy. This feeling made Luffy feel like he had found a confidant. He nodded heavily and gave a cheer. Okay. Goo. A hungry cry rang out between the two of them. The two people who were still imposing just now suddenly raised their eyes and smiled at each other. Both looked extremely embarrassed. Momonosuke thought for a while, and took out a rice ball wrapped in blue leaves from his arms. This rice ball was temporarily stuffed into his arms by his mother before he left that night. Momonosuke, time teleportation can't guarantee where you can teleport. With this dumpling, at least, come back alive. Before disappearing, the mother's words still ring in my ears. It is precisely because of this dumpling that even if it was teleported into this dark passage, he persisted. Even when he was most hungry, he was not willing to eat this dumpling. He looked at Luffy, who had complied with Kinemon's demands when they were at their worst. Although there are also conditions for the historical text. But only these people know that it is definitely not as easy as Kinemon said to go to Wano Kuni to read the historical text. Maybe, before they got to Wano Kuni, these guys might be dead. Kinemon's words, in fact, are almost deceitful. How could he, a samurai of the Kazuki Oden family, break his samurai promise and even ignore his benefactor? Momonosuke struggled in his heart for a while, and finally gritted his teeth and handed the dumpling to Luffy. You are this. Luffy looked at the blue dango in Peach's assistant in surprise. Of course he smelled what it was. Even when Momonosuke just took it out, he could already smell the aroma of the food, and his mouth began to secrete water. However, his own insistence on food naturally knows what food means to others. Usually he scrambles for meat because he can make a lot of Sanji after eating it. But this is the case. He will never steal food from other people's hands. But Luffy didn't expect that Momonosuke would take the initiative to hand the rice ball to him. Looking at the rice ball given by her mother in her hand, Momonosuke felt a sore nose, and her eyes were red. He reacted immediately. As a man of the Kazuki Oden family, how can he be so weak? He turned his head quickly, hiding the sadness on his face. But the voice was full of tears. Mr. Luffy, you must be hungry. In order to thank you for agreeing to help Kinemon, this dumpling is my gift. And please don't despise the simple. Luffy shook his head. Not only did he not dislike it, on the contrary, he was also very solemn. He grew up in a bandit den since he was a child, and grew up with Ace and Sabo. They have been fighting since childhood, fighting for food and clothing. But at the juncture of crisis, they will give each other the last bite of food and the last chance of survival. Of course he understood. How precious is a person who can give himself the last rice ball in a difficult situation. That's exactly what happened. Luffy's expression also became serious. Momonosuke, you. He looked at Momonosuke, who was only 8 years old, in front of him, although the other party was still crying because of the rice ball. But he saw more responsibility than the average person from this child. A time. Luffy's attitude also became correct. He had already regarded Momonosuke, who was only 8 years old, as a man who could rely on each other to fight. Looking at Luffy's solemnity, Momonosuke thought that Luffy thought he was reluctant to give up this rice ball. He quickly wiped away his tears and explained. Sorry, it's not that I can't bear this rice ball, but because. He choked for a moment, and sadness surged into his chest like a flood. This rice ball was given by my mother, who was next, before she left. When I saw this rice ball, I felt like I saw my mother. That's why I feel a little sad. It turned out to be so. After listening to Momonosuke's explanation, Luffy felt a lot of relief, but it also made him cherish the rice ball in front of him even more. This was actually given by Momonosuke's mother. Judging from Kinemon's plea and Momonosuke's sad situation, the situation at the other party's family must be the same as it was at the beginning. Not optimistic. Being sent to the bandit by grandfather was completely out of necessity. At that time, I didn't even remember the face of my father. I don't even have memories of my mother. That's why he was able to grow up alone on Bandit Island and work hard in that environment. Even got to know the red-haired Songis, and since then aspired to become the Pirate King. Is the child in front of him also separated from his parents? Even, he still remembered his mother. Looking at the sad Momonosuke, Luffy actually felt that the other party was a little pitiful. He sat beside Momonosuke and reached out to grab the rice ball. Open cyan leaves. The rice balls inside are crystal clear, exuding a unique fragrance that can only be found in fragrant rice. Sanji had bought this kind of rice once before. The taste is very delicious. But because the price was too expensive, he was scolded by Nami severely. Chapter 339, Momonosuke's Devil Fruit. And now, on this fragrant rice, there is also the longing of Momonosuke's mother. It's that kind of rice ball. But Momonosuke chose to give it to himself, just to repay the promise made to him by a retainer. Luffy stared at the rice ball for a while, and finally reached out and grabbed it. Momonosuke's eyes flashed with reluctance. But in the end, he chose to turn his back and cover his stomach silently. How could he let his benefactor see his embarrassed appearance? At this moment, a hand clapped heavily on his shoulder. He turned around in surprise. All I could see was Luffy's bulging cheek, chewing the food in his mouth. And in the palm in front of him, there is still half of the rice ball. The rice balls on the green leaves, the rice grains exuded an attractive luster, and a trace of the unique scent of fragrant rice quietly penetrated into Momonosuke's nostrils. Open his taste buds and stir his stomach. Just after one more look, Momonosuke felt his stomach move again. It was as if there were countless frogs moving around inside. They cooed together. But Momotaro can't eat it. Because it is a gift to the benefactor. Luffy said, Come, 1.5. He paused, then said, After all, this is the rice ball your mother gave you. If you don't even taste it, your mother will be sad. Hearing this, Momonosuke fell silent. Then, he picked up half of the rice ball in Luffy's hand and ate it into his stomach. For a moment, tears wetted his eyes. Quote. After waiting for a while, the sadness in his eyes was slowly hidden, and he raised his head to look at Luffy. Luffy, thank you for helping me. 39. Luffy, who was looking around with the help of the light, shook his head. Don't thank me, I admire you very much, and you wouldn't eat this rice ball when you were so hungry. If it were me, I would have eaten it long ago. Hearing Luffy say that, Momonosuke's face instantly turned red. He scratched the back of his head embarrassedly, and said heehily, Actually, before I got to this place, I already ate a strange fruit. 35. So it's not as hungry as you think. Speaking of this, he suddenly looked at Luffy and asked, Luffy, is the kind of fruit you have here that looks very strange and has a texture like scales on the surface a special product? 99. I looked very precious and was placed in a glass cabinet with great care. Because I was so hungry, I ate it first. Scale-like texture. As soon as Momonosuke said it, Luffy remembered the rubber fruit he had eaten. Only devil fruit, regardless of its type and shape, is covered with ferocious scaly patterns. Certainly, the taste is also said to be very unpalatable. But Luffy ate one and didn't feel it was too bad. Is it? He looked at Momonosuke and asked curiously, Did you eat devil fruit? Devil fruit. Momonosuke's eyes showed a thoughtful expression. He had heard of this, and he had indeed behaved strangely before, but now, it is better to control it. Luffy asked curiously, Peach, what is the ability of the devil fruit you eat? 39. He looked around. The pit here is too high, and it's vertical on all sides, with nowhere to grab. He just tried it, even jumping into the air with the rubber launch first, then using the rubber pistol. There is no way to touch the edge of the deep pit. If he can't think of other ways to get out here, then he has only 2 ways to get out. One is to be discovered by companions or enemies, rescued or captured. Another is to sit and wait to starve to death and fly out after becoming a soul. However, these two methods seem to be a little uncomfortable, especially the second one. He hasn't become the Pirate King yet, but he doesn't want to die so quickly. Momonosuke looked at Luffy, but his eyes moved. My devil fruit ACBD really seems to be able to turn into an animal, although this animal looks a bit strange, but it can fly. 99. I can feel it. 9. Oh, Luffy's eyes lit up. If so, they can get out of here. However, Momonosuke's face was troubled again, but my devil fruit's ability is very difficult to control, it appears and disappears all at once. 5. And I'm so hungry right now that I don't even have the strength to fly. Too hungry to fly. This is a big problem. Luffy dragged his chin seriously, thinking about the question. He looked at Momonosuke and asked, "What is your favorite food?" Momonosuke didn't expect Luffy to ask this question. He hurriedly said, "Now, as long as it's delicious food. No, even if it's bad food, I'll eat it all." 35. Then, he smiled bitterly, "But we don't even have anything to eat around us now. I was so hungry that I wanted to eat stones." Luffy's eyes lit up. He laughed and patted Momonosuke's shoulder. "I can tell you, I have a partner named Sanji. No matter what kind of ingredients come into his hands, they can become the most delicious stuff." 99. We made an appointment to meet in the deepest part of this base. As long as we can leave here and meet him in the deepest part of the base, we can have the most luxurious meal. Seeing a little hope on Momonosuke's face, Luffy continued, "He will cook many, many dishes, not just Mosley soup, roast meat, raw vegetable chowder, ricotta, and dessert." Quote. One fancy dish name came out of Luffy's mouth. You don't say it. Although Luffy can't remember the name of the dish that Sanji has made, Luffy can't forget it. There were some dishes that Sanji cooked only once and seldom made again, which Luffy remembered clearly. He even described Sanji's delicate presentation and taste. Momonosuke was so greedy that his saliva was drooling. "How about it? As long as you can take me out, I'll take you to Sanji, and we'll let him cook a big meal for us." Momonosuke's eyes were full of surprise and appetite, and he stood up without hesitation. "No problem." As soon as the voice fell, there was a bang. There was a cloud of peach-colored smoke all around, and there was a heavy gasp from the smoke. A small figure emerged from inside. Luffy was taken aback by that look. He took 2 steps back hesitantly, and carefully looked at Momonosuke in front of him. He asked suspiciously, "You transformed into a worm. Can this worm really fly?" "What?" Momonosuke was furious. "Where is this insect? This is obviously a dragon, it's a dragon." Chapter 340 Monet's Deception. Pink scales, slender body, tender limbs and face. There is no Haki who is a dragon at all. If Momonosuke's limbs were skipped, it would still smell like a snake or a bug. With such an appearance, Momonosuke is actually not sure what the animal he incarnates is. From the appearance alone, he even felt that he was actually a lizard. But after thinking about it, as a man of the Kazuki Oden family, how can he be a lizard? He simply bites himself as a dragon. Anyway, he does have a little resemblance to the dragon, and in order to maintain his dignity, he can't care so much. "I'll see if I can fly, you grab my tail." Momonosuke gathered all his strength, thinking about the delicious food that Luffy just said, and raised his desire for things and going out to the highest level. Subsequently, pink clouds appeared under his feet and on his body, and his body became lighter in the clouds. As soon as the body moved, it flew upwards. And Luffy behind him also grabbed his tail with one hand and held the straw hat on his head with the other. He shouted in surprise, "Peach, you really fly. Really? Are you sure?" Momonosuke opened his eyes in disbelief, seeing that he and Luffy were already flying in midair, and jumped up excitedly. The figures of the two men became unstable in an instant. Frightened, Luffy and Momonosuke quickly stabilized their bodies. They looked at the deep pit top of the channel that was getting closer and closer, and their eyes were filled with joy. "Let's go. I'll take you to find Sanji, and let him cook something delicious for us." Momonosuke also cheered. The two fell into the passage. Looking at the dark pit under their feet, they looked at each other and laughed. The two rested for a while and continued to walk deep into the base. At this time, Sanji also met someone. "Hello, Your Excellency, this is the samurai of Wano-kuni, Kineman Foxfire. Have you seen a child about 8 years old?" 5. Or another guy like the one below, a samurai from Wano-kuni. Sanji was a little irritated when he looked at Kinemon, who was entangled in his own questions. He took a deep breath of his cigarette. "I really didn't see those people you mentioned, and I didn't see an 8-year-old child. Could you please stop following me?" 9. Foxfire Kinemon was also helpless. "Your Excellency, it's not that I have to follow you, but if I don't follow you, I'm going to get lost again." Sanji was speechless. This year, how can there be a guy who is like a lunatic with a green algae head? Can Liu Kai be cured? Last time, I seemed to see Chlorla and asked Liu Chen to give him some training for Buluchi. At that time, Liu Chen pondered for a while, and then left with a strange look on his face. After that, the green algae head is still so stupid. Liu Chi's disease probably really can't be cured. Sanji frowned helplessly. He turned a corner along the road ahead and suddenly felt a chill. Look up. The whole room was covered in snow. Some table and chair furniture, which should be for giants, were covered with a thick layer of white snow, which looked like mountains. The most obvious is that there is a wide passage in it. The snow above was thinner than elsewhere, and looked like it had only recently been covered. A look of solemnity appeared on Huhuo Jinamon's face. He guessed his chin, This one looks like a fierce battle took place. The battle marks here are the heaviest, and there is a double sword swordsman who is the fastest and can cut through the snow in an instant. Don't wait for him to finish. Sanji next to him happily rushed into the wind and snow, beside a woman who was torn in two. With a distressed look on his face, he picked up the woman and moved cautiously. A feeling of pampering. Foxfire Kinemon suddenly felt something bad. Wait, you don't want to help this woman, do you? The battle here is obviously from a while ago, and this woman is probably the enemy. Before he could finish speaking, Sanji had already woken up the harpy. Foxfire Kinemon closed himself on the spot. Can't this guy listen to someone's advice? I really don't know how this guy's partner usually endures his character. Kinemon rubbed his brows and carefully walked aside. He stared cautiously at the harpy. As long as there is a slight change in the other party, he will not hesitate to draw out his own double knives. 0. Ask for flowers. In Sanji's arms, Monet slowly woke up. There was only one thought in her heart. Quick, the depths of the base, I'm going to the deepest part of the base. Even if she fainted, she still remembered Guy in the lowest laboratory of the base. She must go over and remind Guy Saw, the most dangerous person in the base is the intruder who is by his side. Captain of the Heart Pirates, Luo. This guy, it's undercover. But as soon as she opened her eyes, she felt a wave of weakness in her body. Zoro's Shira Ghost Slash, and Shirahoshi's Beppo's attack, both hit her weakest spot. This situation made it impossible for her to go to the depths of the base by herself. This beautiful lady, are you all right? Sanji stared at Monet tenderly. He looked concerned. It was a kind of gentleman's feeling, a feeling of pity for the identity of the other party. Monet felt a wave of disgust in his heart. This man, what the hell is going on? He stared at himself with squinted eyes, and he seemed to be another lascivious guy. Monet originally wanted to scold Sanji and tell him to go away. But after thinking about it, I already had an idea about how my weak self wanted to go to Lord Geisa. Her face changed, and she immediately showed a pitiful expression. Thank you, handsome man, for saving me. But if it wasn't for you, I might have died in this icy world. 35. Sanji is overjoyed. 2 pink peach hearts appeared in his eyes, but he waved to Monet. It's easy to say, I'm just passing by, I can't bear to see you as a girl in the snow. Sanji looked humble. I don't know what I can do to help you, to serve you. This is his usual behavior. From the beginning of receiving the education of his mother, to being rescued by his sister later, and to encountering the Blackfeet of the previous generation at sea. For ladies, Sanji is lustful on the surface, but his behavior is always out of bounds. Even protecting and helping girls is his real purpose. Monet was overjoyed. She didn't expect this guy to actually offer to help. This saves her time making up excuses. Chapter 341 The Crazy Child. She hurriedly said to Sanji, I wanted to go deep into the base and visit my master, but on the way I met a guy with 2 knives and beat me. I can't move myself now, can you take me to the base with you? When I find my master, I will definitely give you a very good thank you. While speaking, Monet gently hooked Sanji's collar with his fingers. Showing a seductive look, Foxfire Kinemon, who was on the side, immediately noticed something was wrong. He persuaded in a deep voice, Mr. Sanji, you should think clearly, this woman is unknown to us. Especially because she is so familiar with this place, and she has to go down to find her master. She is definitely our enemy. Why don't you just put it down here and let the next person take care of her? If you let her go to the depths of the base and find her master to join her, our trouble for 193 will be bigger. I haven't found the young master and other partners. 35. Before he finished speaking, he saw Sanji hug Monet without hesitation. He stretched his legs and strode deep into the base. With a cheerful smile on his face. Ha ha ha, happy to serve. Foxfire Kinemon. He followed without hesitation, his mind blank. Is this guy really reliable? Is it really okay to follow him by yourself? For a moment, Foxfire Kinemon wanted to turn around and find someone else. However, after looking at the deep underground passage, I thought about myself who had circled the place 3 times before without turning around. Kinemon gritted his teeth, but decided to keep up with Sanji. Follow Sanji. He could at least see the rest of the place clearly. If you find it yourself, circling in circles for a lifetime and never getting out. Forget it. Let him be patient for a while. Thinking of this, Kinemon quickly accelerated and followed closely behind Sanji. He carefully stared at Monet, the harpy. A hand quietly held the handle of the knife. As long as this woman is a little bit different. He would cut off her head without hesitation. In another channel. Chopper looked up from a group of giant children. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. There seems to be a strange potion in these children that makes their bodies so big. 35. But this drug has very large side effects. For example, it will consume a lot of energy, spirit, and will cause confusion and madness in the body. It should have caused osteoporosis due to rapid growth, but I took a look and other doctors have solved this problem for them. The doctor used a surgical technique to solve the problem, and the other side's knife technique was so exquisite that he couldn't even see the sutured incision. Babo, the white bear on the side, nodded shyly. That surgeon is my captain, Luo. He used the power of op fruit to directly replace the calcium that was missing in these kids' bones. And remove some of the drugs in their body, so that their growth rate slows down, and the calcium in the bones can be slowly replenished. So this is Ah. Chopper slapped in surprise. If it is Luo, then this situation can make sense. Bai Xiong Bibo looked at the children in front of him, his eyes were slightly lowered, but he couldn't help sighing. Original. He told the captain that he would take the children away from the base as quickly as possible. According to their ideas, as long as there is no other person in the middle, it will only take about 10 minutes from the desert house to the gate of the base. After arriving at the gate of the base, leave from the snowy mountain. Get on the sleigh that was hidden there, and you can quickly reach the shore where Marine landed. At that point, the children will only need to be handed over and they will be completely safe. That's just in their planning ideas. The polar bear Bibo did not expect that he took the children to run wildly on the road, and he was lucky not to encounter a centaur patrolling. But, halfway through, these children suddenly had a headache one by one and fell to the ground. Moaning softly in his mouth. He tried to call these children, but they had fallen into a state of confusion and coma. There was no way to stand up. There is no way to respond. The smallest of these children are all bigger than the white bear Babo, and he has no way to transport these children. Just when he was at a loss, Chopper and Usopp showed up at the place. As a doctor, Chopper did not hesitate to help check the status of these children. Then, that's what happened just now. What should we do now? Is there any way to make them regain consciousness as soon as possible? White bear Babo asked anxiously. Monet already knew about the Heart Pirates' mutiny. Although he knocked Monet out, he didn't know when the other party would wake up. If the other party informs Guy, then the captain of his own is very dangerous. This is not something that Beppo the bear wants to see. So he has to quickly complete the task here and help his captain. Chopper naturally knew that the situation was urgent. He nodded and took out some herbs from the medicine bag. I can't guarantee that it will work, but it can be tried. But you have to know that they are in a state of self-protection now, and if we forcibly wake up, it may cause some dangerous situations. You have to be mentally prepared. Usopp on the side was a little scared, and Beppo the white bear nodded without hesitation. Don't worry. Danger is dangerous, as long as they don't die on the spot, my captain can save them. He said. It's a lot safer to leave here than it is later when Guy finds out. 1.3 Before speaking, Chopper had injected the medicines into the children's bodies one by one. All the giant children groaned in pain. They suddenly opened their eyes and stood up from the ground. Ice Bear was overjoyed, looked at the children who stood up again, and said loudly, Children, don't hesitate, come with me quickly, you will be safe when you reach Marine Base. Just as he turned to run, he saw a child clenched his fist and smashed him hard. Quote question mark. Quote. Polar bear Babo dodged the attack with a bounce. Those children glared furiously, their bodies released a terrifying aura, and they attacked everything in front of them indiscriminately. This situation made Bai Xiong Bibo bewildered for a while. This is, what happened? Chapter 342 is a prediction. Run. Covering his head and fleeing, Chopper shouted loudly, this is the side effect of forcibly awakening them. Their mental protection will become mad, and then attack everything indiscriminately. Polar bear Babo was shocked. He realized now that Chopper was talking about danger, not the children, but the three of them. Outrageous. Usopp used the seeds to create a bamboo forest next to him to cover the escape of the three people. But those kids were chasing after them. Bamboo Forest just plucked it clean with a wave of his hand. Some of the kids even picked up huge rocks from the ground and threw them at Usopp, Beppo the white bear and Chopper. Those stones hit the ground like meteorite cannonballs. One hit is a big hole. The three people were so shocked that their hairs stood on end, and pulling their legs increased the speed of their escape. Usopp's mind flashed and he shouted, don't stop, we'll just run. Led them all the way to Marine. Ice Bear Babo immediately understood O2 and nodded. Chopper beside him was about to cry. Hurry up, I feel like I'm about to be smashed into patties. The three of them ran away. All the way out of the base. Outside the base, the Centaur Patrol members who had been knocked out at Daoshin Lake before returned to the base with one-by-one support. They have no other idea now, just want to go back to their room and have a good rest. Take care of your wounds. As for the intruders. What kind of intruders? Those guys are simply not something they can deal with, so let's leave it to others. Only, when they walked to the gate of the base with each other's arms, they suddenly felt the ground shaking under their feet. This caused a trace of doubt and confusion in their eyes. Everyone looked at each other with questions in their eyes. Earthquake, or what happened inside the base? At this time, a centaur with very sharp eyes looked towards the passage at the entrance of the base. Look, it looks like those kids are there. What? Child. The centaurs looked into the passage one after another. All I saw was a large group of giant-like children, clenching their fists and holding stones, wailing and chasing after Chopper, Usopp and Babo the white bear. Chopper and Usopp they know. At the time of the island Heart Lake, these two guys were in the middle of the Straw Hat Pirates. Is the enemy. Some of them were defeated by these two guys. But what they didn't expect was that the two guys from the arrogant Straw Hat Pirates would be chased by the children in the base and screamed. A time. All the Centaur patrolmen couldn't help laughing. They pointed at the Chopper and said, I can't believe these two guys would have today. It's great to be chased by children. These children are the test objects of Guy Saw, and they are usually served with delicious food. 99. Now I even know how to help deal with the invaders, not bad, it seems that we have to treat them better in the future. These people have praised. They simply didn't even enter the door, and just stood there and watched the play. This is much more interesting than going back to the room, lying in bed crying silently. Chopper and the others approached, only to find the Centaur Patrol members blocking the door. They were in a hurry. These children are now in a state of madness, completely transformed into killing machines that do not distinguish between enemy and foe. As long as it is any creature that appears in front of them, it is their priority to kill. Are these Centaur patrolmen who don't run quickly and stay where they are, waiting to die? Run. Don't get in the way. Run. Chopper, Usopp and White Bear shouted loudly. The sound reached the ears of the guys at the door far away. Not only did the Centaur Patrol members not be vigilant, but they laughed again. Have you heard? These guys have panicked. They actually want us to make way for them. Ha ha ha. Get out of the way. We just don't get out of the way. You just wait to be smashed into meat patties by those giant children. All the Centaur Patrol members had faint smiles on their faces. Watching Chopper fleeing in embarrassment in front of him. Everyone felt a burst of anger in their hearts, and they were very happy. They also commented on Chopper's dodging. Yo, look, that child smashed down with a punch. It's a pity, it was avoided by that White Bear. Look, that kid is fierce enough, the rag doll in his hand is like a hammer, sweeping away a large area. It's a pity that the speed is not enough, and the three of them always jump up and dodge. 99. This centaur was full of regrets. Just at this time, a centaur looked in surprise at a child holding a stone in the distance. He shouted loudly, look, that kid is really awesome, he can lift such a big stone. Smash it down, call. All the Centaur patrolmen let out a cheer of joy. However, just at this time, there was a hint of doubt on the face of a Centaur patrol member. He looked at the partner next to him with a solemn expression. Do you think that the stone seems to be thrown at us? The partner was stunned for a moment. It shouldn't be, we have met with this group of children, and they also know us. 99. Besides, aren't those guys running? I guess it's a prejudgment. Listening to his partner's analysis, the Centaur patrolman nodded. He touched his chin. That's right, it's definitely foreshadowing. So the boulder is getting bigger and bigger in front of them, and it will definitely not hit them. After all, they are all acquaintances. The opponent must want to smash in front of those three guys, so that they can't move in front of them, and then they will be wiped out. The centaur nodded heavily. That's right, that's it. He continued to watch with peace of mind. But this time, the partner next to him also panicked and asked him, wait, do you think that the stone seems to be getting bigger and bigger? The center seems to be right here with us. The centaur looked calm. Don't worry, this stone will never hit us. This is all to stop those three guys, so throwing it a little farther is a prejudgment, it's all prejudgment. Oh, so it is. 33. The partner nodded, but he was still a little worried. Just pulled this centaur to say something. A boulder fell from the sky and smashed into the middle of the centaurs. Boom. Snowflake splash. Chapter 343, The Han Snowman Brothers. The centaur standing at the door flew up from the ground one by one. Being smashed by this boulder, people turned over. All centaurs are in a state of daze. The partner and the centaur who had just inquired fell to the ground, shook their heads and woke up from the shock, roaring up to the sky. Which idiot just said that it was prejudgment? Before anyone could answer, the three figures swiftly stepped out in front of them. Run fast and hastily. The centaurs were furious. Is it? They finally returned to the base from Daoshan Lake, just wanting to take a break. Not only did these guys make them hurt again, but they even swaggered away from their eyes. Who can endure this? Guys, FK them. The centaur patrolman roared and was about to stand up. The violent vibration on the ground caused them to fall down one by one with an unstable center of gravity. Giant children ran out of the base one by one. This is. The centaur patrolmen were a little confused. He suddenly remembered that Mr. Geisa seemed to have said before that these children could not be allowed to leave the base. But now, the centaur patrolman quickly got up and wanted to bring these children back. Just as soon as he opened his mouth, he saw a child open his hands and grabbed him. Quote. He suddenly felt something wrong. But it was too late. He was already tightly grasped by a giant child, and he smashed it hard in front of him. It feels like flying. Running wild here. The other side. On the coast of Burning Island. A man with a special pirate mark appeared on the island. He looked at the base above. He frowned slightly. The devil fruit that Dover asked for should be ready for delivery now. When this batch is finished, you can get more money from Kaido. At that time, our Don Quixote family will have the confidence to make another transaction with BIGMOM. He tore off his clothes and walked to the base on the mountain with the people behind him. In the base, Chen had already found the number 1 warehouse. As expected, as Monet said, it was filled with a large number of artificial animals devil fruit. Many of the animals that devil fruit has transformed into are very powerful. Cool. Chen smiled slightly. This time, I'm afraid no one can be richer than him. He can also finally buy some things and enjoy the luxury. Now that the devil fruit has been obtained, there is no need to stay in these places. Just as he lifted his foot, the sound of heavy footsteps in the passage made him calm. Stopped quickly. Boom. 35 inches boom. Boom. Chen raised his head, his eyes lit up crimson. Kamui Sharingan. In the world of Kamui's blood wheel eye, These walls are all turned into phantoms, just like the perspective hanging when playing games. You can see the enemies behind the walls at a glance. Lu Chen saw it too. Two huge snowmen, one carrying a huge gun on his back. The fur clothes on their bodies stuck to their bodies. No fur chest sweat stains. The two even leaned against the wall, sticking out their tongues, and looking uncomfortable. Wait for us. The snowman's younger brother, Scourge, gasped for breath. He raised his eyes and glanced at Lu Chen, and slumped to the ground, looking up at the sky in the shape of a big character. He looked desperate. Finally caught up with you, what the hell, this is the most tiring assassination in my life. The snowman brother on the side was also distressed. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and said with a sigh, we have experienced more than 60 battles, big and small, and many of them have been assassinated by us with tens of thousands of bounties. 99. But there is no assassination that requires us to run like this. It's more tiring than running a marathon in our country of snow. After speaking, he also collapsed to the ground, so tired that he didn't even want to move a finger. Lu Chen was at a loss. What? Assassination? He's a hen. And these two guys chased him all the way. Strangeness. Why don't you feel it at all? Lu Chen rubbed his chin and was about to ask a few questions, but was stopped by his brother Locke. Wait, don't talk to us yet, I don't want to talk to you at all right now. The snowman brother nodded beside him. The sweat on their bodies pooled together like a small stream, and soon became a pool on the ground. Don't let me ask. Lu Chen raised his brows and turned around to leave. Seeing this, the snowman's brother Locke's brows jumped, and he hurriedly shouted, wait, where are you going now? Of course I'm going under the base. 55. Lu Chen replied casually, half of his body had already stepped into the wall. Hearing that Lu Chen was leaving again, the snowman brothers cried out in despair. The snowman brother knelt directly on the ground and cried, please let us go, we really can't run. Do you know how far it is from the gate of the base to here? The snowman brother looked aggrieved, and his eyes were full of hot tears. You passed through the wall directly, we have to go around. After a circle, you still don't know which direction you are walking from, and you have to spend time searching other places. Just one place, we have to walk 2 or 3 times, and if the intersection is repeated, it is not too much to search 7 or 8 times. Brother Snowman added on the side. Especially we have to keep up with you, and the speed is even faster than you. This is not running a marathon, this is running for life. The two brothers fell hard in front of Lu Chen. This made Lu Chen a little interested. Looking at these two, de nuo how, silly snowmen brothers, he asked with a puzzled look, won't you guys just give up and chase me? Forehead. The snowmen brothers looked at each other. They scratched the back of each other's heads, and it seemed that they had never really thought about this. The snowman brother Locke looked sad and indignant. Since he has already taken over the task, how can he give up easily? Snowman brother Scotch nodded. Yes, although our snowman brothers can only assassinate, we also have great dreams. The two brothers nodded to each other and said in unison, our goal is to become the strongest and most powerful assassination king festival in the world. Lu Chen frowned. Don't the strongest and the most powerful mean the same thing? The two snowmen brothers were taken aback. The snowman's brother Locke picked up the gun on his back and pointed at Lu Chen. You are looking for trouble with us, aren't you? Lu Chen glanced. Put the gun away, this thing can't hurt me. Chapter 344 Training the Enemy. The snowman brothers looked in disbelief. Although it is said that for some strong people, the gun does not come to the table. But for others, there is still no small threat. Especially the portability, aggression, ease of use and super long distance of the gun. Even a kid who knows nothing when he picks up the gun, can defeat a group of adults with bare hands. If the gun and the projectile fired are modified. Even the strong cannot ignore the threat posed by firearms. Snowman brother Locke fired a shot without hesitation. The black projectile, bigger than an adult male fist, whistled towards Lu Chen's face. This is no longer a bullet. Should be called a cannonball. The snowman brothers should not be called guns, but should be called small barrels. But, the small cannonball whizzed through Lu Chen's body, smashed into the wall behind him, and slammed into it. A huge crack opened in the wall in an instant. Lu Chen walked out of it unscathed and landed in front of the snowman brothers. He looked down at the two snowman brothers who had been stunned, and asked casually, how is it? Let me tell you, you can't hurt me. 5. Glancing at the gun in the hands of the snowman brother, he raised his head slightly. This gun poses little threat to me. 99. The Yeti brothers were completely stunned. They looked at Lu Chen, and in fact they knew it in their hearts. Since they revealed their traces, there has been no way to cause effective damage to Lu Chen. After all, Lu Chen's strength is there. And they really couldn't catch up. The snowman brother Locke threw the gun in his hand, looked at Lu Chen, and said solemnly, if you want to kill it, anyway, with Lord Guy Saw, you intruders will never be able to escape from Ice and Fire Island. Snowman's brother Scourge also nodded. Seeing these two lying on the ground in front of him, who were sore and soft, who obviously couldn't beat him, and now there are only hard-mouthed guys left, Lu Chen only felt a burst of laughter. A very interesting gameplay suddenly sounded in his mind. To train these two guys. That's right. Although these two guys are enemies, Lu Chen wants to train them well. Certainly. As for whether the training is successful or not, and whether the other party can persevere to the end, it all depends on them. He has also trained some other pirates before, such as some members of the kid ship. But without exception. Except for some who specifically want the power of their own promises, others simply do not have the perseverance to persevere to the end. Thinking of this, he waved his hands at the two brothers and asked, if I let you get the power you want now, what do you want? Hearing Lu Chen speak like that, the eyes of the two snowman brothers, who had long heard of Lu Chen's identity, lit up. But at the same time, they felt a little unbelievable. The snowman brother Locke couldn't help but say, this is it. You mean, you want to impart power to us? As killers, they know that, despite the fact that Lu Chen's bounty is as high as 1 billion, it has already reached the top among the newborn pirates. But the biggest reason of all, it is because of the powerful training ability of Lu Chen's Red-Eye Trainer. When the world government sets bounties for pirates, it is not only based on the strength and power of the pirates, but also on the basis of the opponent's law-abiding and the degree of damage to world peace. Among the billion Baileys, 50% may be due to the trainer ability possessed by Lu Chen. It can give people a strange power growth comparable to eating devil fruit without any conditions. Also for this reason, many people don't know that behind Lu Chen's bounty, Marine has a private additional bounty. That is, catch Lu Chen alive and donate it to Marine headquarters, you can directly get 1.5 billion Bailey. 99. Many people are greedy, but no one ever took it, because no one thought they could catch the elusive Red-Eye Trainer. Especially when the opponent's companions are all around. The two snowmen brothers looked at Lu Chen eagerly, for fear that what Lu Chen had just said was a joke. Lu Chen shrugged his shoulders and said, otherwise. Anyway, idle is idle. He no longer pursues strength as much as before, and the trainer system is now completely a fun. Not to mention, Lu Chen has found out, even if you acquire a lot of abilities, unless it fits your abilities. Otherwise, if you use a very powerful power on others, if it is not suitable for yourself, not only will you not be able to use the other party's powerful feeling, but it may also cause some sequelae to yourself. Like Luffy's second gear. How awesome is Luffy? Squeeze the blood with blood vessels, increase the blood flow rate of the whole body, and increase the beating power of the heart, so as to obtain faster speed, stronger strength, higher recovery, unlimited physical strength and so on. Lu Chen also used it sneakily before. It's okay for a short time. Although the improvement is not as high as Luffy's, it is still a bit improved. But after a minute of time, directly injuring the enemy 100, self-injuring 15,000. If he hadn't trained his physical fitness, he would have almost gone on the spot. Since then, Lu Chen has known. This trainer system only gives you the training plan and ability. As for whether you will fail the training halfway through the training plan, or if the ability is given to you, you will use it. Sorry, we are not responsible for the shipment of goods. Our system is so awesome. But, hearing that Lu Chen actually admitted this matter, the Yeti brothers jumped up in surprise. Locke couldn't wait to ask. Then I want to become stronger, then I want to become as powerful as Mr. Guy, or can I also have your powerful strength? Lu Chen was taken aback. Good guy. He thought the two brothers were really stupid, but he didn't expect that they were actually quite thieves. Even want to have his power. However, the trainer system itself does not belong to this world, and it does not even belong to the power system, so there should be no way to obtain it through training. He shook his head. I'm afraid it can't be done. What? The two guys were stunned for a moment, and the elder brother fell back in disappointment. I thought you could impart that power to us. Locke muttered in frustration. Haha, I'm just joking. Since you don't want to, I'll take back what I just said. Lu Chen rolled his eyes and turned to leave. Do you want to give the system directly to you? Isn't this embarrassing me, fat tiger? The snowman brothers were shocked. Hastily shouted. Don't. We are willing. Lu Chen turned around and came back. He said. Okay, now you can tell me, what kind of power do you want? Chapter 345 The Plan to Kill the Host. The Yeti brothers looked at each other. Speaking of this, their faces suddenly showed hesitation. Snowman brother Locke looked tangled. We want too many things. Yes, there are too many. The snowman's younger brother Scotch sighed with emotion. We also want to be like Roger, the Pirate King, who can easily kill opponents and make people feel weak when they see us. Lu Chen was speechless. These two naive guys, say they are naive, dare to think more than Lu Chen at the beginning. At the beginning, he just wanted to get Garp's Iron Fist strength, which was just the strength of a Marine Vice Admiral. These two guys actually wanted to gain the power of Roger, the most mysterious and powerful Roger in the entire world. To know, Roger can become One Piece, though probably not entirely by power. But this aspect of his strength is certainly unquestionable, strong. So powerful that even Marine, the four emperors of the sea, Shichibukai, and even the entire world recognized him as the One Piece. How powerful is that? At least anyone other than Roger, Lu Chen has not seen anyone who can call himself the Pirate King. Except Luffy. But he also just shouted to become One Piece. These two guys. Hearing the words of the two, Lu Chen was almost amused by these two guys. He said. One Piece Roger's power, and my power, do you want? The two brothers looked at each other and nodded. Want to. Lu Chen thought about it. It was as if he had never thought about these two things. But think about it. Whoever has nothing to do will set himself as a training target and want to gain his own strength. He smiled and said. Yes, I can give you two a chance. What chance? Snowman brother Locke asked hurriedly. Within a month, I will give each of you a task. As long as you can complete this task, you can get the power you want. That's great. Snowman Brother Locke was so happy that he almost burst into cheers. For the Snowman Brothers, this task is simply a pie in the sky. Chen ignored these two happy guys, and he didn't even have any expectations in his heart about whether the Yeti brothers could complete the training plan. He also just wanted to try it out, whether this system that can obtain powerful power in other anime worlds can allow others to gain the ceiling of force in the entire world, as well as the ability of the Traverser himself in the system. He said slowly, "This is an opportunity to make you more powerful. But you have to pay attention. When you put forward the power you want, the task you get must be completed, and only after the task is completely completed, you can obtain that power. Have you figured it out?" 99. Brother Yeti nodded without hesitation. Such a good thing. Whoever shakes his head is a fool. Seeing the two snowmen Han nodded without hesitation, Chen didn't talk nonsense. He waved the two brothers into the illusion. Just entering the Sharingan illusion, the two snowmen brothers were also taken aback. Especially looking around, the countless upside-down stargates in the sky, and the aura that the strange seal could not hold back, made the two brothers shiver in place. Chen didn't care about these two guys. Now that they are in his trainer space, there is no way for the two of them to escape. Either way, you have to find a training target. Although some powers are indeed not suitable for their own use. But, yes and no are two different things. With power, he doesn't necessarily need to use it at all. He looked up at the sky, the stargate that connects the tens of thousands of Earth's comprehensive power, and said slowly, "Now, tell me what ability you want to obtain." Snowman Brother Locke stood up without hesitation. He said excitedly, I want to be you. With a power as powerful as Chen, the Red Eye Trainer, it is best to have the power of God and be able to wave to kill other people's existence." Good guy. Hearing the snowman's words, even Chen couldn't help but snorted. He thought people were just talking. Others really dare to say this wish. Even he can only call newbie. The countless surging stargates in the sky suddenly stopped for a moment. Obviously, the training goal of the snowman's brother, Locke, made the trainer system completely ignorant. The estimation system did not think of it either. The guy who came in this time is so awesome that he can even say such outrageous thoughts. Zero katakana middle dot ask for flowers. Do you really not measure your own strength? But, a system is a system after all. Under the Lord God, they are all ants. After only a slight pause, the re-reacted trainer system gave birth to a new stargate in the sky. It's just this stargate, but it's a blood-red stargate. The seal is opened. A man in black flew down from it. He stood beside Chen. His face was the same as that of Chen. But the aura on his body was obviously more dangerous than Chen, full of a taste of pure destruction. He squinted slightly to look at the snowman brother Locke. That feeling perfectly matched the description of the snowman's brother Locke just now. See the eyes of this black-robed man. Locke's heart skipped a beat. He immediately felt that under the eyes of this black-robed man, his body seemed to be locked by something. Even breathing became a little difficult. Even if you want to resist, or want to escape, your body can't move at all. This person, so strong. Locke thought in horror. On the other hand, Chen looked curious. He looked at the other self in front of him and asked, "Are you sure you can really do it?" Brother Snowman looked certain. He was even quite excited. "Okay, then give you a chance." Chen nodded and directly asked the trainer system to formulate a training plan. Hearing Chen's answer, the snowman brother Locke got excited. He asked, "Tell me, let me do the task." Chen didn't answer immediately, but looked at the trainer system panel. Ding, the training object has been drawn up. Close black lens bracket. Training objects. Snowman brothers in the snow country, brother Locke. Training goal. To obtain the power of Chen and the gods of the world, and wave to kill the existence of the enemy. Training plan 1. Find the power of God in the pirate world, break through the shackles of the world, find the main god system, and let the main god give the system power. Close black lens bracket. Training plan 2. Find the power of God in the pirate world, gain the power of the Lord of the world, kill host Chen, and capture the trainer system. Close black lens bracket. Awesome. At this moment, Chen just wanted to say to the system, "Awesome. Factory." Chapter 346 Battle, the Power of Three Gods. It is indeed a powerful trainer system. Even if you want the power of the host, it will give the best solution without hesitation. There are even 2 plans given. The first plan, no problem. The second plan, I'm your host, you want to let someone kill me. Chen was a little dumbfounded. However, the world was already full of all kinds of unscientific, and he didn't bother to correct it. He looked up at the snowman brother Locke and said directly, "Your mission is to find the power of God in the pirate world, break through the shackles of the world, find the main god system, and let the main god give the system power." 99. He asked, "How about it, can it be completed? Is this task difficult?" Really? As soon as these words came out, the snowman brother Locke was immediately stunned. Not to mention the first 2, what is the last main god system, the one that the main god gave the 193 system power? He has never received this knowledge, and he doesn't understand it at all. A time, snowman brother Locke has hesitated. His performance like this was naturally expected by Chen. After all, with his own strength, after reading it, he felt that it was enough. Not to mention what the power of God in the pirate world is, let's talk about breaking the shackles of the world and finding the main God system. The main God system has a high probability of being on the Earth. But where exactly? Only by chance. Seeing that his brother was slow to make a decision, the snowman brother on the side couldn't hold back. He squeezed his stunned brother, leaned in front of Lu Chen and said, "Red Eye Trainer, train me first, train my desire first." 99. Also can. Looking at the snowman's younger brother Scourge, Lu Chen nodded. Anyway, the training plan can be changed and cancelled at will without confirmation. He waved his hand to hide the training plan of the snowman brother Locke, and looked into the snowman brother's eyes. "Tell me, what kind of ability do you want?" Snowman's younger brother Scourge is obviously more conservative than his older brother. He thought about it and said, "I want to gain a powerful assassination power, preferably the kind that can assassinate others no matter what the terrain and conditions are." 5. Listening to the request of the snowman brother, Lu Chen nodded. This requirement seems more reasonable. After all, the Yeti brothers are assassins themselves. If they choose an assassination type ability, it should be easier to complete the training tasks. He waved. Countless star gates open and close in the sky. Power surges. The seal of one of the star gates opened, revealing a huge silver moon. A yellow light suddenly flew down from the silver moon. It smashed right in front of them in an instant. It was a yellow spherical smiley face, as if it was smiling no matter what it was doing. But, Lu Chen knew, this guy is one of the strongest assassins. Kill the teacher, aka, the unkillable teacher. Subsequently, a door opened again in the sky, and in a blue world, a man who looked like a shark descended from the sky. Fell to the ground. Seeing this person, Lu Chen felt very familiar. After all, his Sharingan is also from this world. Hokage world. Akatsuki's first killer, Hoshigaki Kisame. This killer is the most powerful and purest assassin in the entire Hokage world. Although compared to Teacher Kill's unreasonable ability, Kisami's strength is slightly inferior. But after all, Kisami's usual main task is to inquire about intelligence and secretly rebel. Backstabbing is only part of it. But the opponent's title of Tailless Beast is enough to reveal his status in the Hokage world. Even in the cultivation barrier guarded by layers, he can infiltrate through Samahata. Who can be more powerful than this assassin? Exclamation mark quote. Ding. The system prompts. Please host select the mission target. Lu Chen looked at the two snowmen brothers, and he said, "Start choosing your training goals." Say it. Lu Chen's finger pointed to Hoshigaki Kisame. Tell you what power they have. I'm afraid it's difficult for you to understand. It's still the easiest way. See the real chapter under the battle. Between waving. He untied the restrictions of the three people in front of him. Took a step back. A person with the power of God, two strongest assassins in each other's world, but at this moment, they all ate together. His eyes swept across the person in front of him instantly. After all, they are assassins. Before the battle, what they need most is to collect intelligence on the other side. Only after the intelligence determines that it is suitable, they will choose to shoot Zero. This is also the reason why assassins most need to be calm. The assassination of the Yeti brothers is very crude and simple, and it cannot even be called an assassination. At most, it's called shooting the cold shot. And in front of Mr. Kill and Hoshigaki Kisame stood there, motionless. It's okay to kill the teacher. A relatively relaxed appearance, the tentacles on his body seem to be swaying at will, and the harmless smile on his face can make anyone lose their guard. But that doesn't include the two people in front of him. Hoshigaki Kisame is a qualified assassin, and he is quite composure. Before the situation develops to the state he wants, he is like a shark dormant in the water, and he will never reveal the slightest flaw. But the newly summoned Lu Chen was not so patient. Feel the oppressive atmosphere. Sensing that he was unhappy, he immediately shot. He punched him in front of the teacher who made him feel the most dangerous. Boom. The entire space shook suddenly. One after another cracks are generated from the space. Whoa. The two snowmen brothers were immediately attracted by the battle in front of them and exclaimed. When Lu Chen saw the crack in the air and the space for vibration, he instantly knew what the power of God in the world of pirates was called by the system. It is a symbol of the three most powerful catastrophic forces in a certain island country in the real world. Earthquakes, volcanoes, storms. That is Whitebeard's 1.3 shock fruit. The lava fruit of martial marine Akainu. And the thunder fruit of Enel. Lu Chen was thoughtful. As long as you have these three fruit powers and develop them to the ultimate, you should be able to break the shackles of this world. But that's just thinking about it. The setting of the pirate world has long been stipulated that no one can take two devil fruits at the same time. Anyone who dares to eat the second devil fruit will explode on the spot in minutes. Even the man who was said to be able to eat three devil fruits, Blackbeard teach. In the original plot, dark fruit and shock fruit were also eaten. Eat one more at most. There is simply no way to gather the power of the three fruits of the gods, and it is impossible to break the shackles of the pirate world. Every time I see this, Lu Chen can't help sighing. Chapter 347 Victory, Lu Chen, the strongest god. If it weren't for the latest plot, where rubber fruit has become the fruit of everyone in Nika, the setting of pirate world is still quite rigorous. At least, Oda even prepared for the setting of how to prevent the characters in the world from breaking the world. Calm down a little, Lu Chen looked at the battle in front of him. Although the teacher killing in front of him doesn't look very powerful, his ability is very strange. The seemingly harmless and soft tentacles on the body actually contain a powerful impact. The speed of each tentacle is very fast. A single attack can reach the speed of sound. This speed, even him, it is impossible to resist. Therefore, he can only avoid the system copied. Dodging is also useless, because teacher killer's movement speed far exceeds his speed. This also led to, when killing the teacher, it will cause damage to the two people around him one after another. The Snowman Brother and the Snowman Brother's elder brother also had a solemn expression. This guy is very powerful. O2. Brother Snowman looked solemn. He looked at Lu Chen and said slowly. However, in this case, I am afraid it is difficult for you to resist his attack. Lu Chen smiled when he heard the words. He looked up at the Snowman Brother in front of him, then shook his head and answered lightly. No, I can resist. When the Snowman Brothers heard the words, their expressions changed slightly. This guy is so powerful. How can he resist? Lu Chen smiled slightly. See for yourself. He believes that the Lu Chen of God, who concentrates the three fruits on himself, is definitely not that simple. Really. Next second, the counterattack begins. With a smile on the teacher's face, he reached out and grabbed the god Lu Chen. And Lu Chen, the god of God, did not hesitate. He moved and rushed towards the teacher who killed him. Boom. God's Lu Chen directly hit the body of the teacher who killed him. The tentacle that killed the teacher instantly turned into a sharp weapon, directly piercing the chest of god Lu Chen. But, the tentacle's attack isn't over yet. A gust of wind blew up. The yellow tentacles exploded in the chest of the god of God Lu Chen, churning wildly like a hurricane. The Lu Chen of God was torn to shreds in just one breath. Then, he turned around with a smile, and looked at Hoshigaki Kisame who had been standing by for a long time. The Snowman Brothers in the distance widened their eyes. This, is that the strongest power they desire? Is it? This is the end. Whoosh. The god of God Lu Chen, who was pierced through his chest, healed quickly in midair. When he was healed, he had already appeared within 3 meters behind Teacher Killer. His eyes, also crimson. This is the power of Kamui Sharingan plus illusion. Although the Kamui Sharingan illusion master's ability is not strong, it is more about the use of system space. But to deal with those guys who have never encountered Sharingan, such as killing the teacher. Totally adequate. Boom. God Lu Chen's body turned into fiery lava. A large amount of white plasma was even released from the palm. Lava fruit, thunder fruit, shock fire lightning. The three forces erupted at the same time, leaving a huge flame path in the air. A huge pillar of fire shot out from his palm. It was mixed with frantic lightning. And the space in front of him was torn apart by shock fruit, which intercepted all the tentacles that killed the teacher sneaking in front of him. Strongest attack plus strongest defense. Puff. A muffled sound came. A tentacle was burned to ashes and dissipated between heaven and earth. On the other side, Teacher Killer, whose figure flickered quickly, disappeared in place. Next second, he appeared behind Lu Chen. The tentacle protruded again and pulled towards the back of Lu Chen's head. This move is too fast. Moreover, the power of his move is extremely astonishing, if it were replaced by Lu Chen under normal circumstances. I am afraid that must be fully resisted. But now. He is not normal. After seeing the threat of this move. There was an indifferent expression in Lu Chen's eyes. A tyrannical energy poured into the tornado behind him. The speed of the tornado suddenly skyrocketed. In an instant, the incoming tentacle was swallowed up. Zalala. The burning sound spread all around. Under the light of the fire, one of the tentacles that killed the teacher turned into coke again. His face also changed suddenly. Teacher Kill's pupils shrank, and the yellow smiley face that originally represented happiness also slowly changed color at this moment. It's Hoshigaki Kisame on the side. After seeing the crimson Sharingan of Lu Chen, the god of God. He moved his feet slightly. Those eyes revived some memories in his mind. But he didn't wait for him to respond. A pale yellow figure appeared beside him. And another crimson figure also appeared in front of him. God Lu Chen moved his hands. The power of shock fruit and thunder fruit is instantly released from the palm of your hand. Hoshigaki Kisame's eyes are sure. The body instantly turned into ashes in the space tear and thunder burst. In this scene, the teacher who was watching killed the teacher, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Without hesitation, he opened a distance from Lu Chen again. Lu Chen was also stunned. A look of disbelief flashed in the depths of his eyes. The speed and strength of Hoshigaki Kisame, which he has witnessed in the world of Hokage. Such a powerful assassin just died like this. His mind moved. Suddenly I noticed something strange in a corner. He suddenly understood. What disappeared just now should be Hoshigaki Kisame's water body. This natural assassin should have quietly hid when the battle appeared, leaving only one water to deal with others. Lu Chen couldn't help but smile. This guy is not only powerful, but also extremely cautious. He glanced at the snowman brother beside him. These two guys are still staring at the battle in front of them. Obviously, they themselves were caught in a tangle. Lu Chen took a look. The result of the battle between killing the teacher and the god Lu Chen in the sky has become obvious. Lu Chen, who possesses the fruits of Kamui Sharingan and the three god tiers, directly overwhelmed the countless assassination skills of the teacher. And the instant transfer of Kamui space, no matter how fast he kills the teacher, he can keep up with it in an instant. And use shock fruit to block his path of action. The more he fought to kill the teacher, the more injuries he suffered. But he had nothing to do with Lu Chen, the god of God in front of him. See this moment. Lu Chen felt that his strength was clear. He waved his hand to stop the fight, revealing Hoshigaki Kisame, who was hiding in the shadows. He looked at the two people in front of him and asked. Chapter 348 The training plan is determined. The Snowman brothers looked at each other and shook their heads at the same time. They didn't know what to choose. After all, they don't know if they can bear the burden and danger brought by this force. After seeing the terrifying performances of Lu Chen and Teacher Shi, the two people who were full of self-confidence, suddenly became cautious at this moment. As for Hoshigaki Kisame on the side, because the whole process is paddling, it is not in the range of the Snowman brothers' oven at all. We need to think about it. The two spoke at the same time. Think about it. Lu Chen raised his brows slightly. Alright, I'll give you 5 minutes. He walked to the side and looked at Lu Chen, the god of God in front of him, and several different emotions rose in his heart. The performance of God's Lu Chen is really perfect. Shock fruit, lava fruit, thunder fruit. The perfect combination of the three powers, with Kamui Sharingan, no one will be his opponent in the whole pirate world. As for the setting that there is no way to eat 3 devil fruits at the same time. That is for people in the pirate world. For a traveler with a system, Lu Chen believes that the trainer system can help him solve this problem very well. On the side, the Snowman brothers also started a discussion. Brother, that god-like red eye looks amazing, shall we choose him? Snowman's younger brother Scourge looked at Lu Chen, the god of God, with a hint of longing in his eyes. The Snowman brother Locke slapped him heavily on the head. I said this, and I will take it if I want it. He paused and glanced at his aggrieved brother. Didn't you hear what the red eye said just now? If you want to gain that kind of power, you must first gather the power of God. Do you know what the power of God is? Brother Scourge shook his head. Although there are legends of gods in this world. But no one has ever believed in the existence of gods. But it is a weak expression of the hope of the weak. Any guy who is a little bloody and hardworking has become a pirate, and he gets on a boat and sails into the sea. Scourge was a little unwilling. He muttered, the power of God. I don't know, I can ask Red Eye, what he brought up, he must know. The elder brother endured it, and finally resisted the urge to slap his younger brother's face. This guy didn't understand at all. The difficulty is not what the power of God is, but how to obtain the power of God. Haven't you seen a guy with such a powerful red eye, in the face of such a powerful force as Lu Chen, the god of God, didn't he ask for it? This certainly shows that the process is difficult. Not necessarily dying during training. Fortunately, I am smart. If I were as stupid as you, we would have died a long time ago. The brother sighed. Of course, otherwise my brother will be me. Snowman's younger brother Scotch said as a matter of course. See what your brother looks like. Brother couldn't help rolling his eyes, not wanting to continue talking about this issue with this guy. He looked at Lu Chen beside him. Perhaps, he had already figured out what kind of power to train for. At this time, Lu Chen just finished thinking about the difficulty and cost of obtaining the 3 devil fruits. 5 minutes to arrive. He put his thoughts aside for a moment and looked at the Yeti brothers. What kind of power do you want? What I want is the power to kill the teacher. The voice of the Snowman's brother Locke was loud and clear. That's right, what I want is the power to kill the teacher, and only if I get his power. His assassination power is the most powerful. Although it is not as good as the red eye, it is stronger than the blue guy. Snowman brother Locke said. His eyes flashed with excitement. Is it because the first one was too difficult to give up? Lu Chen shook his head. It seems that although these two brothers have a bit of a naive personality, they still know what a trade-off is in essence. It is no wonder that they were able to become assassins, but they have lived to this day. Well, I will satisfy your request. Lu Chen nodded. He stretched out his hands. Click to open the system interface. Undergo training. The system dinged, showing a new training plan. Ding, the training object has been drawn up. Close black lens bracket. Training objects. Snowman brothers in the snow country, brother Locke. Training goal. To acquire the ability to kill the teacher in assassination classroom. Training plan. Go to the sea, assassinate 1,000 strong men, continue to advance in the assassination, and finally complete all transformations. Close black lens bracket. Lu Chen shared this condition with the Yeti brothers. Snowman brother Locke nodded. He feels that this condition is not too easy compared to the one who became red-eyed before. It was nothing but the assassination of 1,000 strong men. The above only mentioned assassination, and it didn't say that we couldn't cooperate with others. He can go to the sea with his younger brother. With the cooperation of the two. Killing 1,000 strong men is completely possible. Then, make sure to train. Lu Chen reached out and clicked to confirm. Confirm training. Close black lens bracket. The sound of the system sounded again. Ding, you choose to confirm the training. Do you want to start immediately? Start later. Lu Chen temporarily rejected the immediate training of the system. After all, there is still a Snowman brother Scourge waiting to choose. But, this guy seems to have run out of options. He looked at Scourge and said, now, are you going to choose me, or are you going to choose Hoshigaki Kisami's abilities? 5. Scourge looked surprised. Can't I choose the same strength training as my brother? 99. Lu Chen shook his head. Of course not. Not to mention that there is no precedent for this before. It is the power contained in these worlds, although they are all replicas of other worlds. But with the ability of the trainer system, only one copy can be made. So, he can help others develop similar abilities they want. But there is no way for two people to obtain the exact same ability and power without the slightest change. This is also the strength limit of the trainer system. But, even so, the trainer system is also invincible enough. Seeing the red-eyed Lu Chen say this, the snowman's younger brother Scotch was also helpless. He can't choose the copied red eye of God. Election is also white. He looked at Hoshigaki Kisame next to him. Although the other side is paddling all the way. But his ability to hide and use water to hide is also very powerful. He nodded. I chose to train the power of Hoshigaki Kisame. 9. Beep. Ding. The training object has been drawn up. Festival close black lens bracket. Training objects. Snowman Brothers in the Snow Country, Brother Scotch. Close black lens bracket. Training goal. To acquire the power of Hoshigaki Kisame. Close black lens bracket. Training plan. Go to the sea, kill 1,000 sharks and take their hearts. Close black lens bracket. Congratulations to the host, the Snowman Brother Locke and the Snowman Brother Scotch have been confirmed and successfully opened the training mode. Please prepare the host. Chapter 349. This guy, one is stronger than the other. Tell the two Snowman Brothers about the training mission. Lu Chen just left. These two guys are not his companions, and he doesn't need to follow them all the way, just to help them complete the task. Want to be stronger? Go to the sea to assassinate and hunt sharks by yourself. He's just a ruthless task release machine that doesn't get feelings or money. Look at Lu Chen who was leaving. The two Snowman Brothers were still a little confused. They looked at their tasks and felt their brains buzzing. The younger brother Scourge couldn't believe it. Brother, the red-eye trainer really trained us. I'm not dreaming, right? 35. Snowman elder brother Locke slapped him on the face without hesitation, and his younger brother was caught off guard, and the whole person was instantly called to the wall behind him. This situation made the Snowman brother stunned. He jumped out of the wall angrily. What are you doing? Snowman brother Locke looked at him. Now you know this is not a dream, right? The Snowman brother took a deep breath. He pondered slightly. That's true. Ignoring the assassination of the two Snowman brothers, Lu Chen shuttled all the way and came directly to the deepest part of the base. He showed a small smile. It seems that in the whole pirate group, I-193 was the first place to arrive here. The voice just fell. Two shadows appeared beside him. Robin and Nami wore sexy swimsuits and looked at Lu Chen with a smile. That's not necessarily. 99. Robin smiled slightly. The two of them had already arrived here. Even because they were too bored, they drank 2 cups of coffee in the middle. Played 2 games of Aloes. Until now, Lu Chen was long overdue. Why are you so fast? Lu Chen's eyes were slightly shocked. He went through the wall all the way, except that he took a little time to find the artificial devil fruit in the warehouse. But, you could say he walked in a straight line. There wasn't even a battle in the middle, at most it was training with the Snowman Brothers, and it took a little time in the illusion. But none of that compares to Nami and Robin. For the first time, Lu Chen doubted his own strength. He looked at the two girls with doubts in his eyes. Did you fly down? 35. Nami rolled his eyes at the boring guy. Stupid. You guys with only fighting in your head, don't you know there's a thing called an elevator? 99. What? Looking at Nami's expression like an idiot, Lu Chen couldn't hold back. He thought about many things. I also thought about Nami and Robin's many ways to get down quickly. But he really didn't expect it. It's the elevator. Seeing Lu Chen's shocked expression, Nami shook his head sympathetically, came over to touch his head, and embraced his face in his arms. Poor little kid who doesn't even know what an elevator is, alas. Actually, the elevator can be put in the back. Lu Chen felt that the soft flesh in front of him suffocated and died. But, he was reluctant. After rubbing his head twice, he pushed Nami away in front of him with a straight face. Violently wiped away the blood that came out from under his nose. You are going too far. To treat a pure and kind boy in this way, you are too bad. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Nami giggled. Seeing this scene, Robin turned around silently. This scene is a little childish. But, she is also happy to see the improvement in the relationship between Nami and Lu Chen. After all, for a ship to sail safely, the crew on it must cooperate tacitly. Although the contradiction between Nami and Lu Chen is not big. But occasionally it still affects the atmosphere on board. Nothing for a short time. But there are bound to be some bad effects in the long run. At this time, a melodious violin sound came from a passage. Listen carefully. ACBD. That's a trendy song. Nami and the others were very familiar with the sound of the violin, and they knew the identity of the person who came by just hearing 2 notes. Brooke. The 3 looked over in surprise. Only seen in the channel. A skeleton playing a violin, followed by resurrected bodies, danced a weird dance among the stiff corpses. They felt inexplicably. If this dance was one of the 7 warlords of the sea that I met at the beginning, Moonlight Belia brought his zombie group to dance, I am afraid it would be more fun. Beside the corpse, also followed by a centaur patrol. Either watch it carefully, or follow the strange melody involuntarily, beating the body together. Become a member of Brooke Zombie Dance Company. Outrageous. Nami, Robin, and Lu Chen complained silently. Lu Chen used Kamui to shuttle all the way, and Nami and Robin took the elevator directly to get off, neither of which was as amazing as Brook in front of him. It doesn't matter if he plays the violin in someone else's territory. Do you even have your own dance group? Do you think it's square dancing? Arrogant. Too arrogant. Lu Chen couldn't help sighing in his heart. He couldn't think of anything more arrogant than Brook's square dancing in an enemy base. The other side. A black figure rushed out. Behind him was a strangely dressed man. Sanji. Holding Monet in his arms, he excitedly waved at the crowd. Monet even smiled. The hand she hid in her arms has silently condensed cold eagle claws. Just waiting for Sanji to carry her to the entrance. She'll be out in no time. Eagle claws pierced through Sanji's chest, plucking his entire bright red heart from his fiery chest. The thought of this fool finally looked at himself in astonishment. He certainly couldn't have imagined. The enemy he helped wholeheartedly not only did not repent at all, but even took his life without hesitation. Oh hoo. Just thinking about it makes me feel very happy in my head. Looking at the distance from the passage getting closer and closer, the excitement in Monet's eyes became stronger and stronger. Just when Sanji rushed out of the passage ignorantly, Monet's eyes lit up with murderous intent. It's now. She showed her sharp eagle claws, and a cold light flashed on the ice blade. He was staring at his Huhuo Kinemon behind him, alarm bells ringing in his heart. Be careful, he shouted angrily and rushed forward. The knife in hand lit up. I already knew you weren't a good B***ch. The channel leaves little by little. They appeared little by little in the deepest square of the base. Sanji shouted, Lu Chen, Nami, Robin, you guys arrived so early. What? Red-eye Lu Chen. Monet was startled and looked back. I happened to see that familiar black figure. Chapter 350 Harpy Monet, the undead dancer appears. How is it possible? How could he be here? Monet trembled. She will never forget this red-eyed demon. That day, Lu Chen left an indelible mark on her body. That day, she moved desperately on it, and the blizzard roared wildly. Lu Chen ate the hot pot calmly below. He also sneered every now and then. Poke a human lung tube. Not very harmful, very insulting. Now, as long as she thinks of herself lying on the ground because of her overstretched strength, she feels hot tears welling up in her eyes. No, I can't take a shot here. Monet's mind twitched wildly. The guy in front of him is Lu Chen's partner. I didn't offend him very much before, so Lu Chen let him go so easily. But if she kills his partner in front of Lu Chen, then you really don't have it. Monet only felt a big word of danger on his forehead, flashing red light frantically. No, can't make a move, she has to be patient. Monet clenched his teeth fiercely. Compared to Sanji in front of him, the red eyes over there were obviously the most dangerous. Only in this base can Lu Chen be killed. Monet thought secretly through gritted teeth. She quickly replaced scratching with touching. Gently stroked Sanji's chest. Then he buried his head in Sanji's arms and said softly, Brother, Monet is so scared, you must protect Monet. 5. Bang bang bang. Sanji's body temperature rose and his heart was pounding. He has always been a self-proclaimed knight who protects girls, but his attitude is rambunctious, and most girls hate Sanji on the surface. The mere touch makes girls run like hurry up. Not to mention actively throwing a hug. So far, the only woman who took the initiative to embrace Sanji was his mother. How can this keep Sanji from getting excited? A wave of blood rushed straight to the brain, and the hot blood rushed to the limbs, and his whole person gained powerful strength. Oh hoo. He kicked his feet on the ground, and the whole person instantly burst into a rocket-like speed. He slashed at Monet's Foxfire Kinemon with a knife behind him. The soles of his feet slipped, and one fell to the ground inadvertently. Rolled several times on the ground. Watching Sanji and Monet close together. Foxfire Kinemon sighed helplessly, and picked up the knife with a smile on his face. If God gave him another chance, he will never care about this shit, he swears. Sanji came to the crowd with Monet in his arms. He was also surprised by Nami Robin, who arrived first, and the horde of undead dancers that followed behind Brook. Others are also very curious about the identity of the girl in Sanji's arms. Robin and Nami asked, who is this girl? They usually know Sanji's behavior best, and ordinary girls won't let Sanji get close. Sanji smiled slightly and said proudly, this girl is called Monet, she has the ability of snow fruit, she can not only summon Bai Shui, but even turn herself into a harpy. Both girls hesitated. This girl, no matter how they looked at it, they felt that the other party was full of danger. Not to mention, there is a high probability that the unfamiliar fruit abilities that appear in this kind of base are Gaisaw's subordinates. Sanji actually brought the enemy in. Lu Chen looked at Sanji. He sucked in a mouthful of cold skin. He had thought that Nami, Robin, and Brook were already the ceiling. Who knows? The fiercest person is Sanji. Reanimated corpses dance for a ball. The harpy Monet, if he remembered correctly, should be stronger than the Snowman brothers he met before, and it can be said that he is one of Guy's capable men. Sanji actually abducted the opponent's capable generals directly. Okay, and the other party is a girl. How comfortable is this thing? Brook stopped the violin, the resurrected zombies and centaur patrolman sitting limply on the ground behind him. One does not want to move. Tired. Too tired. Don't ask why a dead body feels tired. They were too tired to answer. Brook retracted the violin into his chest and tidied up his demeanor. He walked gracefully to Monet's side. His dark eyes looked sincerely at Monet. With a slight smile, he said softly, Miss Monet, may I ask, can you show me your underwear? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Monet had a question mark on his face. What the hell is going on with this guy? Zero. Ask for flowers. Such an attitude. Don't these people care? She glanced around. Really, everyone else had the usual expressions on their faces. But, Sanji and Foxfire Kinemon, who was beside him, also showed a hint of fascination. Obviously, they also very much want to know the answer to this question. Monet couldn't help but roll his eyes. These guys. Too disgusting. But for her own safety and to inform Guy Saw in time, she must be patient. Monet took a deep breath and tried to suppress his temper. She gave Brooke a harmless smile and said softly, sorry, I can't show you this, because I don't wear. Hiss. When the three men heard this answer, their brains froze, and blood spurted out of their noses. This is really an answer beyond their expectations. Lu Chen on the side glanced at it. He smiled dismissively. With Sharingan, he has seen through Monet's disguise and deception. This lying woman is clearly white. Yo, everyone has arrived. A cheerful voice sounded beside him. Everyone turned to look. It's Luffy, and under him, he was riding a pink dragon. The dragon looked tired, and was surrounded by pink clouds. Seeing this guy, Lu Chen's heart jumped. Pink dragon. This is Peach Nosuke. Luffy jumped off Momonosuke's body with a smile, and Momonosuke fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Luffy sat him all the way down, and such a thing is really not a good thing. Almost exhausted him. Luffy glanced at it, but his eyes fell on Foxfire Kinemon. He laughed and walked towards the other party, pointing to the pink little dragon on the ground and saying, Kinemon, I have found Momonosuke. Come and see. What? Kinemon's eyes widened. He looked at the pink little dragon in disbelief. Crazy shaking his head. No, Your Excellency Luffy, you probably don't know, my young master is a round-faced 8-year-old child, not such a strangely shaped little bug. The others also nodded their heads one after another. Chapter 351 The Truth of Brain Supplementation, a long worm that looks like a human. Although the pink scaly worm is very rare, it is still very different from the human appearance. Everyone said this clearly. Luffy just wanted to explain. At this moment, the pink little dragon spoke. He looked at Foxfire Kinemon and said, Kinemon, it's really me, I only became what I am now after eating a devil fruit. Hearing the familiar voice, Kinemon believed. The pink long worm in front of him was his young master. He jumped to Momonosuke's side in surprise, knelt on the ground, tears welling in his eyes. It's so good, it's so good, it's so good, he wept bitterly. Young master, I finally found you. All your comrades are missing, you are the only one left in the Kazuki Oden family now, and you have too many things on your back. If you leave too, the Kazuki Oden family will be wiped out at the end of 193, and there will be no hope for Wano Kuni. 99. Momosuke nodded. Of course he knew these things. Otherwise, as an 8-year-old child, I try my best to use my father's thinking to talk to Luffy. Unfortunately, he is too young. After Kinemon cried for a while, he looked at Momonosuke in front of him, but his face was astonished. Momonosuke-sama, what kind of devil fruit did you eat, and you turned into a pink worm? You look like you can't control it yet. Momosuke nodded. He was also very helpless. After eating this fruit in his stomach, he felt that his body was cold and hot. As if something was transforming his body. This is also the reason why he has no way to control his energy now. In fact, before Luffy appeared, he had been in the form of a dragon. If it wasn't for Luffy falling from the sky, the fall scared him and made him human again. Only let him touch the edge of the fruit a little bit. But even so, at this moment, there is no way for him to restore his human body if he wants to, or to become a dragon if he wants to become a dragon. Kinemon, what about the others? Momonosuke asked. As soon as he mentioned this, a trace of shame appeared on Kinemon's face. I'm sorry, Momonosuke-sama, like us, they all got separated in time teleportation. I also asked Your Excellency Luffy to look for it, and then I found you. As for the others, we still need to search and contact. Momosuke nodded. He tilted his head weakly, and pink smoke flew up around him, finally turning into a human appearance. Luffy, where's our food? Momonosuke looked at Luffy, his hands trembling. Luffy looked at Sanji without hesitation, and Sanji looked at Lu Chen without hesitation. Lu Chen didn't hesitate. Look to yourself. He reached out and took out various tables, chairs, benches, and food condiments from the Kamui space. The members of the Straw Hat Pirates are already used to it. But the first time I watched Foxfire Kinemon and Momonosuke, they seemed to see something incredible. He was so surprised that his mouth turned into a goose egg. God, how is this possible? Foxfire Kinemon couldn't help crying. So much food, how could there be so much food? This is unbelievable. Everyone looked at Foxfire Kinemon in unison. Only then did Huhuo Jinemon realize that he had lost his way, and quickly restrained his emotions. Sorry, it's okay. Lu Chen shook his head. Sharingan itself does not belong to the ability of this world. When they see it for the first time, it is very normal to be surprised. Arrange everything. Everyone sat on the chairs beside them, just like they were on their own boat. Sanji was on fire. Start cooking directly on the spot. The light of the knife is like a flying shadow. The meat is fragrant. Sanji puts the baked food on the grill. While Sanji was flipping the food, Kinemon on the side asked Momonosuke curiously, Momonosuke-sama, how did you know this Lord Luffy? Judging from the looks of you, you seem to be very close. Momosuke nodded. He is my savior. We introduced each other's names under that pit, and then talked about each other's deeds. In the end, we worked together to break out of that deep pit. Kinemon sighed. In this way, Lord Luffy is indeed a reliable person. At that time, I asked him to look for it, which was indeed the right thing. A smile appeared on Momonosuke's face. He remembers the scene where Luffy yells, I'm the man who wants to be One Piece, while asking him what he wants to do. Also because of that, he mustered up the courage to move forward. Luffy is my friend. For him, no one is more precious than his companions. Just at this time, Momonosuke suddenly raised his head, his eyes fixed on a stone wall, his eyes rounded. A very surprised look. You see, that stone wall actually cracked a hole, and there was light in the hole. Everyone looked in the direction Momoji's assistant pointed. On that rock wall, a crack is rapidly widening. Boom. A loud bang. The entire stone wall was broken. A gust of wind blew out. The wind was blowing so hard that everyone could not open their eyes. A man with green hair appeared in their sight with a black knife in his hand. An icy, biting chill swept over. Kinemon's eyes were cold. He couldn't help but blurt out, what a powerful sword. What a powerful swordsman. 35. Monet on the other side felt a dull pain in his knife. This man, it was the man who cut off her body and even hurt her soul before. This person, strong, who is he? More importantly, what is his purpose here? Monet thought of a possibility. She looked at the guys with smiles on their faces, and couldn't help but take a deep breath. 1.3. There was a look of horror in his eyes. Could it be that this terrifying swordsman is the same as these guys in front of him? Are they all pirate companions on the same boat? Thought here. Her heart was beating violently. No wonder. It's no wonder that the ships they saw on Pirate Island just now looked familiar, and they turned out to be the ships of these people. So many strong men. What the hell do they want? Are they all for guys' treasures? Those man-made devil fruits are indeed a lot of wealth, but more importantly, they are able to shake the pattern of the whole world. The thought popped into her mind. She felt her blood boil. A thought flashed. She immediately connected Lu Chen's search for devil fruit. It was as if he had discovered the truth. Her body couldn't help shaking slightly. Chapter 352 The provocative guy spreads. The people next to him did not notice Monet's trembling. They were all immersed in the temptation of Sanji's food, watching Sanji's fingers flapping and cooking the food. It's like watching a musical. The centaur patrolman on the side watched Sanji cook the food. The scent drifted into their nostrils. Make their stomachs growl. This made them feel very angry. Captain, these guys are too arrogant. We are still hungry as the patrol members of the base. These guys even want to eat hot pot. A centaur threw its hoofs angrily. He said angrily, why don't we go over and have a meal too? Hearing what his subordinate said, the centaur patrol squad leader gave him a vicious look. He reprimanded in a low voice. The worthless guys, these guys are all enemies. As the subordinates of Mr. Guy Saw, we are loyal to Mr. Guy Saw. How can we bow to the enemy because of a mouthful of food? No, I absolutely won't agree. The rest of the centaurs had troubled expressions on their faces. The zombies on the side were at ease. He too only recovered the body, but the function of the body has not recovered, so now I can't smell the fragrance. Their bodies also do not need to eat. Seeing that the centaurs around him were madly swallowing saliva one by one, these zombies laughed out loud one by one. Look at these guys, it's hilarious to be tempted by a bowl of food. The centaurs turned their heads and glared at these guys. In fact, there is nothing scary about zombies. It's just that everyone didn't react at first, and suddenly they were a little scared when they encountered the resurrected companion. But now that I am familiar with it, the fear in my heart has long since vanished. A vicious prisoner anyway, how could he be frightened by mere 1 or 2 corpses? Come here, when you're done, start eating, and when you're full, you have the strength to lose weight. Sanji happily plated the food and threw it into everyone's hands one by one. Even Monet had a plate in his hand. Looking at the tempting food in front of them, everyone swallowed and ate happily. The centaur patrolman and zombies on the side watched eagerly, but did not dare to go forward. Oh ho ho ho. Unexpectedly, a little bug ran into the base, and even came to the deepest part of my base. Such a thing is humiliating to me. 39. A voice sounded in the empty square of the base. This voice had a grotesque smile, and I couldn't hear the anger in it at all. He seemed to be asking another person. Luo, I suddenly remembered that it was you who dragged me into the laboratory and eagerly asked me to discuss the problem. I think about it, these guys shouldn't, you put them in on purpose. In the square, another calm voice sounded. Guy, I'm also a pirate, don't forget, half of your research results are mine. 99. Do you think I would do such a stupid thing? That's right. The two voices fell silent. One black and one lilac figure walked out from a corner of the base square. He was wearing a research suit with gas condensation on his body, with an eternal fake smile on his face. Guy came out slowly and looked at the Straw Hat Pirates. And by his side, but it was Luo who was looking at a black knife, wearing black clothes and a white ball hat. Just come out. The breath of the two went straight to the Straw Hat Pirates. Monet, who was hiding in the crowd, had a smile on his face and told Guy to be careful. But the others around her put down the bowls and chopsticks in their hands, and their eyes all fell on Guy Saw. An intriguing breath enveloped Monet. Especially. Zoro is sitting on her left. On the right sits Lu Chen. Monet was stunned on the spot. As long as she shouted out the first word, the two kings of hell could send her to the west in the next second. Although he is loyal to Lord Guy, and can even die for Lord Guy, but now, she still decided to be rude. After all, Mr. Geisa is still very safe now, and he is just a mere Luo, and he can't hurt the honorable Mr. Geisa at all. Guy Saw is invincible, Monet thought to himself, and then shrank back again. She hid in the crowd and secretly aimed at Lord Geisa. Guy scatters to the Straw Hat Pirates. How dare you come here to eat? Guy looked at the Straw Hat Pirates. His tone was yin and yang, and it was obviously mocking, but no evidence was found. Can be called the pirate's first master of yin and yang strange energy. Sanji was smoking a cigarette and looked at Guy angrily. Food is a life for a hungry person. My duty as a chef is to make sure that everyone who is hungry can fill their stomachs. If you're hungry, I can cook one for you too. Hear Sanji say that. Guy smiled disdainfully, but the Centaur Patrol squad leader next to him was full of remorse. Depend on. I knew I was going to ask for a meal just now. Now that Lord Geisa is here, even if he wants to ask for it, there is probably nothing he can do. He slapped himself regretfully. The Centaur subordinate looked puzzled. Captain, what's wrong with you? It's okay, just killed a mosquito. The Centaur Patrol squad leader looked calm. How could he tell the other party that he regretted not listening to him just now? Guy walked up to Sanji and looked down at them. His eyes were full of provocation. 193 inches I know you, Blackfoot Sanji, the cook of the Straw Hat Pirates. Then, he turned his head, and his eyes fell on everyone one by one. Navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates, Nami. Deputy Captain Zoro. The trainer is red-eyed. The King of Souls Brook. And you, Captain, Straw Hat Luffy. He sneered. You guys, come to me, you shouldn't come to me to discuss cooperation. Luffy stood up. He pressed his straw hat and walked to Geisa. He raised his head and looked at the guy in front of him without showing weakness. Your people have shot at us. So, we need to find an account with you. 35. Oh, 99. Guy's heart moved slightly. If this is the case, it is not impossible to discuss. He had previously thought that the Straw Hats and the others were taking the initiative to find him, ready to ask for trouble. After all, the fact that the Straw Hat Boy directly declared war with BIGMOM on the Fishman Island has already shocked the whole world. And he, as a scientist who studies giant warriors for BIGMOM, Geisa should be the target of the opponent first. He was even mentally prepared for it. But, it looks now. Why does it feel like the other person doesn't know about this at all? Chapter 353 The Dead Subordinate, the Grumpy Brown Beard. He looked into the Straw Hat Boy's eyes. There was only firmness in the other's eyes. As a lie expert, Geisa knows how to tell if someone's attitude is true or false. But he was looking at the Straw Hat Boy in front of him. But found. There is only one attitude on the Straw Hat Boy. That is, be honest. There is no camouflage and falsehood to be seen. This surprised Geisa. Are there people in this world who never lie? He asked dubiously, what do you mean, you didn't come to find me specifically? 35. Luffy nodded. Of course. Geisa asked again. Are you going to leave Ice and Fire Island with the Straw Hat Pirates as long as you hand over the guy who will attack you? Luffy nodded again. Yes. However, he paused for a moment here. I still need to replenish supplies on the island. After all, I came to this island to replenish supplies. 35. So it is. 35. Feeling Luffy's undisguised truth, Guy spread a faint smile on his face. He dropped his general vigilance. Looking at Luffy, he laughed happily. Oh ho ho ho. Since that's the case, then it's easy to handle. Who is the guy who shot you? Tell me, I will send someone to find them and give him to you. But after this, I hope you can leave Ice and Fire Island as promised. 35. The strength of the Straw Hat Pirates should not be underestimated. Facing this island with his own research efforts, Geisa didn't want to destroy him unless it was a last resort. Not to mention, these guys have offended one of the 4 emperors. Naturally there will be members of the BIGMOM pirates to deal with them. There is no need for a researcher like him to worry. The others nodded. At this time, Nami stood up unhappy. No way. Quote question mark. Quote. Everyone looked at her. Guy's originally relaxed face suddenly became tense. The originally relaxed Centaur Patrol members also stood up straight again and clenched the giant axe in their hands. The atmosphere in the base that had eased up became tense again. Nami said loudly, Brownbird owes us 5 barrels of wine, and he has to make it up for us. The crowd was messed up. Even Geisa couldn't help wiping the sweat from his face. He thought it was something. Unexpectedly, it is a matter of 5 barrels of fine wine. Okay, isn't it just 5 barrels of fine wine? He readily agreed. I'll send someone to deliver it to you later. What else do you need? Tell me directly, and I'll send someone to arrange everything for you. In order to send this group of plague gods away, he also fought hard. The members of the Straw Hat Pirates looked at each other. Luo and Lu Chen even looked at each other with a hint of helplessness in their eyes. I didn't expect Geisa to be so cowardly. If that's the case, they don't really seem to be in conflict. Luo repeatedly winked at Lu Chen. Let him think of a way to hold Guy for a while. According to his calculations, the members of the Heart Pirates should be transferring wounded patients and test items elsewhere. Certainly, there are also all kinds of supplies. As long as Geisa can be dragged down, the rest of the island won't be a problem at all. Of course Chen also knew Luo's thoughts. But in the current situation, what else can be done to delay time? Could it be that he told Guy that you have a good venue here, why don't you let us have a dance here? He estimated that as soon as he said it, Guy Saw, who had agreed to all the requests with a smile just now, had to turn his face on the spot. Just as everyone was laughing, testing each other and easing their embarrassment, a huge figure also walked in from the passage. On the figure's chest, the brown beard that was cut off in half was drooping, and it was messy like weeds at the moment. In his hands, he held two giant axes. The blade of the axe trembled slightly. The lower body of the crocodile stepped on the ground step by step. He took every step forward. It will push the depressed atmosphere into part. The people who were laughing, the atmosphere was harmonious, their eyes fell on the face of this new person. Everyone was surprised. This guy, it's the guy was trying to catch just now. Brown beard. Just now. The breath on his body was dignified, and there was iron hatred in his eyes. Staring at Guy stubbornly, the giant axe in his hand was raised, and the killing intent was directed at Guy in front of him. He roared angrily. Guy, you liar, where are my subordinates? Right at the heart of the island lake. Luffy exposed their location to the accused roper, Chapey, who gave Brownbird an address for him to see for himself. Brownbird entered the base without hesitation and found the warehouse directly. It was a warehouse that had been abandoned for a long time. It was used as a patient's room before, but later, it was said that the people in it had been cured and left, so it was cancelled. There are very few people patrolling here. Brownbird doesn't understand. Why did Chap give himself the address of this warehouse? But, for the sake of his subordinates, he still did not hesitate to go. This warehouse is in a remote location. Walking alone in the passage, it always looks empty and lonely. This reminded Brownbird of the road he and his crew took together. That time, no matter how dangerous the moment, how dangerous the road, he and the crew can walk happily. Even that time, besieged by Blackbeard's own fleet, followed by a disastrous defeat. None of the people on their boat fled, and all fought to the end. In the end, it was he who struggled to support, and then fell to the ice and fire island. Met Guy too. That time, everyone was joking and shouting, and when Lord Geisa healed their injuries, they returned to the sea again. But this time, he is going to be a pirate under Guy Saw-sama. Do things for Guy Saw. This is also their common wish with Brownbird. But now, Brownbird pushed open the dusty door of the warehouse for a long time. A gust of wind picked up the dust. The stench hits. Rotten bones, bad meat, struggling movements, twisted bodies. From their faces, even the remaining painful expressions can be seen. Brownbird pirates. All the crew are here. Brownbird's hands trembled. He clearly remembered that he had asked Guy about the situation of his subordinates not long ago. Guy Saw clearly said that these guys are recovering very well. One by one, they were able to stand up as normal as Brownbird soon. It's just that they still need their help to complete a secret experiment. Experiment. Brownbird suddenly remembered what Luo had said to him before when he transplanted the lower body of the animal to them. The sentence was so bland that he almost forgot. Chapter 354 Luo's expectation, Guy Saw's strength shows. You are all just Guy's experiments. If you have the chance, take your subordinates out of here quickly. Quote. Get out of here with your subordinates. Brownbird muttered these words, looking at the subordinates in the warehouse that looked like rancid sculptures. Lost eyes. At that time, he thought Luo was provoking his relationship with Guy Saw. Did not care. Even at that time, he justly and sternly refuted Luo. Master Guy Saw is our savior and the savior of the remaining prisoners on the entire Ice and Fire Island. If you continue to instigate other people's relationship with Mr. Guy Saw, then don't blame me for being rude to you. Brownbird remembered saying so. At the beginning, I still felt that I was holding a bottom line. Even if he is a pirate. He also determined not to be an ungrateful pirate. But now, looking back again, he only felt a burst of irony towards himself. Is he laughing at his folly? He was actually played by the guy who he admired the most, and he still expressed a deep apology to the guy in his heart. With such a self, what do you use to face the Lord Guy Saw in 193? What will they do to face Luo who really helps them? Brownbird stood there for a while, he picked up two giant axes, turned and walked towards the depths of the base. This moment, his eyes were firm, he did make unforgivable mistakes before. Because of that mistake, even his subordinates were killed, and he was still serving the people who killed his subordinates. Funny. Now, only blood can wash away this shame. Not the blood spilled by Guy. It's your own blood. Deep in the base, the brown beard at the door of the passage glared at Guy. Seeing the giant axe in Brownbird's hand and the resentment in his eyes, Guy was shocked. It seemed Brownbird knew what had happened to them. Guy Saw also clearly felt that Brownbird's heart was full of hatred and resentment at this time. Brownbird, why are you here? Even so, Guy's face is still full of a fake smirk, and he even greets Brownbird with a smile. It was as if what they had just said to Chen and the others was that there was no such thing as exchanging brown beards for the Straw Hat Pirates to leave ACBD. As for the Centaur patrolmen on the side, they stared at the brown beard who held up the giant axe at Lord Geisha in shock, and they couldn't sit still. Brownbird, you traitor. How dare you betray Lord Geisa? Have you forgotten who saved your life? Ungrateful guy. Kill him. Kill this ungrateful guy. He doesn't deserve to be our captain. Hear the cry of the centaurs in the ears. Brownbird's face was pale, and his wrists were shaking slightly. Listening to the voices of these guys, watching them maintain Guy's appearance, Brownbird seemed to see his previous self. He couldn't bear it any longer. You guys, don't you know that you were deceived? Hearing Brownbird's roar, several centaurs turned pale. They didn't expect the betrayed Brownbird to be so righteous in front of everyone. The Centaur Patrol members quietly glanced at the calm Geisa, their hearts sank, and they shouted without flinching. Brownbird, you traitor, since you have forgotten the life-saving grace of Lord Geisa, you are no longer qualified to be with us. Their voices spread throughout the ruined base. Luo, who was on the side, looked at the noisy scene in front of him, and there was a hint of joy in his eyes. That's it. *1#. Stop the time. The longer the delay, the better the chances of those test subjects being able to leave the base safely and receiving proper medical treatment at Marines. Everyone stood silently aside. Wait for Guy Shaw to solve the problem, or Brownbird to solve Guy Shaw. Geisa looked up at the brown beard. This brown beard is a character. It is also for this reason that he used the rest of the Brownbird pirates as a test subject, but left this guy alone. After the other party refused to be the experimental guard, he also generously let him go to patrol the periphery of Ice and Fire Island. Watching him look forward to the future with his subordinates every day, Geisa himself felt a kind of longing. That was one of his few joys. But now, everything has changed. At this moment, the brown beard is full of hatred, anger, resentment and other complex emotions. It made him look extremely ferocious. It was so terrifying that one could not help but feel a burst of heart palpitations. Feeling that all of my former friends were unswervingly choosing Guy to take the side, I didn't believe at all when I said that Guy took them as a test. Sadness arose in Brownbird's heart. These guys. Much like the one who faced Luo at the beginning. Since it doesn't make sense to you, let's not talk about it. 35. Zongu took a deep breath, smiled bleakly, and his body was filled with rage. Now, I just want to avenge my subordinates. He roared furiously, the crocodile's tail flicked on the ground, and the whole person turned into a cannonball and rushed towards Guy. Do you think you have the ability to defeat me? Guy turned his body into gas and dodged to the other side. He looked at Brownbird calmly, his words were very flat, and the smile on his face pierced into Brownbird's heart like a sharp sword. Brownbird clenched the axe in his hand tremblingly. He looked at Guy Saw in front of him and knew that Guy Saw was stronger than himself, just like Blackbeard back then. A strong man who can easily defeat himself. But before. When facing Blackbeard, he took his subordinates and fled shamefully. But this time, he will never back down. Ha 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 ha. Brownbird burst out laughing, and he looked at Guy, with madness and hatred in his eyes. Guy, today you and me, must be the next one. He raised the giant axe and slashed in Guy's direction. He would use the two giant axes in his hand to smash Guy's throat. The moment Brownbird raised the axe in his hand, Guy moved. He released a faint gaseous gas from his body. Actions appear behind Brownbird like lightning. The speed was so fast that even the air made a whistling sound, but before he could make a move, the brown-bearded crocodile's tail slammed violently in the air. It actually made him turn around in midair with nowhere to go. Boom. Brownbird's two giant axes slashed Geisa's body. Pity. The giant axe just smashed on the phantom of the gas condensed. He couldn't do any damage to this phantom at all. On the contrary, this phantom actually grabbed his right wrist in that instant. Brownbird, I didn't expect you to have the ability to control the animal's lower body so flexibly. Chapter 355 The Two Sides Meet, Guy's Escape. Guy had a look of interest on his face. But then. He shook his head regretfully. Unfortunately, I have already promised to hand you over to the Straw Hat Boy, so no matter how good you are today, I can only reluctantly give up my love. Sizzle. Guy's hands turned into purple gas smoke, releasing a powerful corrosive force. Just a flick. The big axe in Brownbird's hand came out. Click. The palm snapped. Blood spurted out. What? Brownbird screamed in pain. He wanted to cover his injured right hand with his other hand. Unfortunately, his entire right arm has been paralyzed. It even felt a little spread to his body. Unable to move, he couldn't grab his right wrist. The gas spread by Guy is not only poisonous to breathe, but also highly poisonous when touched. And this moment, Guy's body stopped in front of him, his smiling eyes fixed on him. Although there was a smile on his face, his eyes were as cold as 10,000 years ice. Seeing Brownbird shuddered, Guy Sarah asked coldly. Now, do you still want to kill me? Now, do you still want to betray me? Brownbird suffocated slightly. He looked at Guy's incomparably cold eyes, and the corners of his mouth drew an icy arc. This icy arc is the warm smile he has always given to others. Even his eyes seemed to penetrate his heart, causing his soul to tremble involuntarily. That kind of fear made him want to escape. You guys were originally damn pirates and prisoners. I gave you hope again and spent so much money and materials to support you. What's wrong with you helping me complete the experiment? Guy said coldly. You Guy, I originally planned to keep you well, and I don't need you as an experiment for the time being. But now, since you're going to die, why don't you give me another gas poison experiment? There was a strong threat in Guy's words. Brownbird's pupils suddenly dilated. He felt a cold feeling spread all over his body. This cold feeling spread from the grasped wrist to the head. It's like being wrapped around a snake. On Guy's right hand, a thick purple gas line appeared. The brown bearded arm of the purple gas thread was wrapped and inserted deep into his veins. Ah, Brownbird could clearly feel that the flesh and blood under his skin was quickly melted by these thin gas lines, but it did not disappear, but turned into a purple gas mist after being swallowed up by those thin lines. More purple gas lines were bred. This kind of pain was even more unbearable for him than being cut open by a knife. Don't be afraid, I promise I won't let you hurt for too long, and soon, you will feel more comfortable, ha ha ha. Guy's laughter echoed in Brownbird's ears. Sweat rained down Brownbird's face, and his lips were trembling. He felt like his body was about to be torn apart. Luo and Nami on the side couldn't stand it any longer. Luo held the knife tightly. His face was gloomy. Although he needs someone to hold Guy as far as possible, he doesn't need such a hold. The patient deserves the best treatment possible. He didn't want someone to suffer in front of him like Rocinante did, but he couldn't do anything about it. Guy, 99. Luo shouted loudly, and Guy turned to look at Luo. There was a hint of vigilance and questioning in his eyes. Luo silently opened his two fingers, at the moment when he couldn't help but want to shoot. Outside the passage, a centaur patrolman broke in. The embarrassed appearance of the other party attracted everyone's attention. He shouted, Sir Guy, Doflamingo's family has come to get the artificial devil fruit, but what? Guy asked angrily. The centaur swallowed and panted, Marine. Lots of Marines. Smoker, the smoker of Marine Vice Admiral, collided with Doflamingo's family, Gladius. 35. What? Why is Marine here? Guy shouted exaggeratedly, loosened his brown beard, and let the other party hit the ground heavily. All he cares about at the moment is working with Doflamingo. This time it's Gladius, who's got a bad temper. He hurried out of the passage. Now, Smoker and the others, who were heading to the base from Iceland, had already hit Gladius from Burning Island not far from the base. Zero. Ask for flowers. When the two sides saw each other, they were all surprised. They didn't think so. Gladius didn't expect to meet Smoker as Marine here. Smoker didn't expect to meet Shichibukai Doflamingo's Don Quixote family members here. This guy is not easy to deal with. When they saw each other, the two thought to each other at the same time. They all stood in place. Guys, where are you? Gladius contacted Guy directly through the communicator, with anger in his tone. Marine has come to your island, what the hell are you doing? Geisa in the base heard Gladius's call, and his heart twitched violently. This guy has a tough personality and hates untrustworthy and dishonest guys the most. Once annoyed him, Doflamingo won't kill him even if he has a strong scientific research ability. But it's not going anywhere. Thinking of this, Guy's forehead was covered with dense beads of sweat. Not to mention, there's Marine. How did Marine come? He also provided Marine with many artificial animals' devil fruit. If Marine does come, that means you are in big trouble. Guy saw, who was about to rush out of the base with the lever, suddenly stopped. Without hesitation, he turned around and rushed back to the depths of the base. Guy Sasuke. Seeing Guy who went back and forth, the centaur and the others were all stunned. But the other party has no time to care about the mood of these test items at this moment. Guy, where are you? Answer quickly. Gladius' voice came through the communicator again. Guy took a deep breath and turned off the communicator without hesitation. The other side. Hearing the sound of the communication being turned off, Gladius was stunned for a moment, and a trace of violence flashed in his eyes. The communicator was crushed by him. The smoker on the opposite side was smoking, but he took the sea stone made bident from his back. Gladius, the spade member of the Don Quixote family, I met him now. If I can arrest you and bring you to justice, I'm sure Admiral Sengoku will be very happy. Smoker said in a deep voice, and the sea stone spear rang in front of the factory. Chapter 356 Fragments of the explosion, thick smoke. It's just you. Gladius looked irritable, and smashed the communicator in his hand at Smoker. Without further ado, shoot directly. The communicator swelled wildly during the flight. Smoker smashed the communicator into the air with one blow, and the opposite side exploded in midair. Fragments of the explosion flew around like bullets. The fragments fell to the ground, splashing a snowflake. Marine soldiers dodged. Gladius rushed straight out of the air, slamming his fists down at Smoker. But Smoker opened his mouth and spat. Thick smoke spread out in front of his eyes, blocking Gladius's sight, and the next moment, a black fork swept out from the smoke. A blow landed on the back of Gladius's head, smashed him heavily into the snow. A huge pit suddenly appeared on the flat snow. Attack. 193. Gladius men pulled out their guns and aimed at Smoker and Marine. Not to be outdone, the Marine soldiers. Smoker smoked himself and stayed in midair. He looked at the huge pit smashed out below, still extremely cautious. After all, a member of the Don Quixote family in spades, it is not so easy to solve. Ha ha ha, Smoker, you are so energetic today. There was a harsh metal friction sound from the pothole, and the crackling sound was incessant. A streak of white exploding hair slowly rose from the snow. Now, the helmet on Gladius's head had disappeared. There was only a clump of incomparably strong hair, and there was a metallic symphony between the friction. His eyes were fixed on Smoker. But he laughed. Exactly, today I'm going to take Dover's things back, and by the way, take your head back, I'm sure Dover will be very happy too. He pressed his hands in front of him, and the ground exploded. Mine bombs. The whole person took advantage of the situation to rise into the sky, his fists turned into giant hammers, and he slammed into the opponent fiercely. Smoker didn't hesitate, waving his two forks to meet him. Boom. A series of earth-shattering explosions resounded throughout the ice and fire island. Lots of snowflakes and rubble. Boom. The moment the prong and the fists touched, Gladius's two fists exploded with a bang, blasting Smoker's bident directly. Smoker's body trembled, and his huge fist was already in front of him, smashing him to the ground just as he did before. His feet sank into the snow, and the thick smoke dispersed. Smoker's face changed slightly with two cigars in his mouth. As expected of a member of the Don Quixote family, who was mainly fighting in spades. Such a quick response. The destructive power of the opponent's explosive fruit is quite amazing. Where are you looking? Gladius was already jumping up, slapping his bulging hands on the forehead. Bang! Smoker is photographed in the snow. Snowflakes rolled, and a giant pit with a depth of 5 meters emerged, and a series of explosions rang out on the ground. Blast the Smoker's smoke completely. This is the strength of Marine Vice Admiral. 35 feet. Gladius sneered. His hands quickly touched the ground, and he turned the snowballs into bombs. Boom. Explode. Explode. Crazy explosion. As long as it is visible, it is filled with the flames of the explosion. With his hands firmly pressed against the snow, Smoker sneered sullenly, and his body rose again. Who are you looking down on? 39. He rose into the sky again, and the black seastone spear slammed into Gladius's head. The two sides fought again. When there was a battle outside, the atmosphere inside the base was extremely tense. Luo reached out to open the slaughterhouse and used a scalpel to cut off the gas toxin spread on Brownbird. He felt a little guilt in his heart. If it wasn't for him, Brownbird wouldn't have been so miserable by Guy. Luffy, Chen and the others on the side were looking at Luo in front of them, and Geisa who had gone back and forth. They could already feel the growing anxiety between the two. Marine actually came to the island, who informed you? Guy's face was smiling, but he looked hideous. When he talked to Marine before about cooperation, he only said that he was making artificial devil fruit, and the other party turned a blind eye. Just ask him to turn in part of devil fruit he will make. If Marine discovers that he is not only making devil fruit, but also conducting inhumane human experiments, and the subjects of the experiments are even children, I am afraid he will be imprisoned to the bottom of Impel Down. There is never a way to see the sun. The Centaur Patrol members were terrified. Mr. Guy, how dare we tip off the news? Not you, is it someone else? Guy's eyes swept over everyone coldly. Then there's Luo. At last, his eyes fell on the Straw Hat Pirates. For a moment, he seemed to have found the source. It's you. Marine was brought here by you. Guy is furious. He didn't expect the Straw Hat Pirates to do such an amazing job. What benefit would it bring Marine to the Ice and Fire Island? As for Luo, he didn't believe Law would be Marines. After all, he is a dignified Shichibukai, even if the other party doesn't like what he does. But Shichibukai naturally has the pride of Shichibukai. Like Eagle Eye, even if he accepts Marine's call, he will never cooperate with Marine easily. And, he also doesn't think there is any connection of interest between Luo and Marine. So he turned his anger on the Straw Hat Pirates. Luffy didn't explain either. He took off the hat and put it on his back, but looked at Guy and said, although I don't understand what you are saying, but. The fists slammed together against his chest. He grinned. Are you going to trouble us now? The voice just fell. Chen, Zoro, Sanji, Brook, they all stood up. They stood behind Lu 1.3 Fei and pulled out their knives. Chen's eyes were blushing. A blue phantom slowly condensed in midair. Open Susano directly. Very good, very good. Since this is the case, then you all die with Ice and Fire Island. Guy sneered. He turned and ran without hesitation. Room. Slaughterhouse. An invisible force field opened instantly. Baton. 35. The place where Luffy and Luo were originally turned into two inconspicuous stones in an instant. And their stature has caught up with Geisa. Guy was taken aback. Luo, you Guy. Luo slowly pulled out the knife, his eyes cold. Sorry, I'm with the Straw Hat Master. What? Guy's face was gloomy and he lost his smile for the first time. Chapter 357. Ice and Fire Island desperate, gas toxins. He didn't expect himself to lie every day. One day I will be deceived by the lies of others. He turned and glanced at Luo, then at Luffy, who was rushing towards him, gnashing his teeth. G bastards. He never thought that the Ice and Fire Island base that he had worked so hard to create would be destroyed by the Straw Hat Pirates in just one day. Luo raised the knife in his hand without hesitation. An icy cold light flashed across the blade. With a flick. The snow-white sword light covered half of the passage, like a half-round bright moon. Puff. Guy Saw was directly cut off in the middle. The body is cut into 2 pieces. But his figure didn't stop at all. He flew faster. Luo, Straw Hat Boy, you guys can't escape. 35. He let out a ho-ho-ho laughter, and there was a trace of grimness on his face when he turned around. Although it's not finished yet, it doesn't matter, let the entire Ice and Fire Island tremble again for its second appearance. Just about to bury everything here. It's a pity, but as long as I find a safe place, I'll be able to start over. He laughed. The lavender gas poisonous mist was released from his body, completely blocking the entire passage. Sir Guy. The centaur patrolmen who were catching up had just opened their mouths to shout, and their faces turned purple as they inhaled the poisonous gas mist into their trachea, and immediately fell to the ground in convulsions. Luo quickly shot again, but it can only temporarily restrain the gas toxins on these centaurs. These poisons are very difficult to remove, and it is necessary to return to the marine base to completely remove the poisons from these guys. Luo said softly, and he turned his head to look over. The straw hat owner, Luffy in front of him, was breathing heavily. The whole person swelled up like a balloon. Then, I saw Luffy holding his breath hard and grabbing the wall with both hands. Hum 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 in the mouth. Although I couldn't hear what Luffy was saying. But Luo felt that he understood what Luffy meant. Rubber rubber. Bazooka. Boom. The straw hat loosened his hands, and the whole person rushed through the passage like a cannonball fired. And many more. Luo wants to stop. After all, this channel is not a straight line. Using this method, the straw hat master will definitely hit the wall in midair. But what he didn't expect was, the moment Luffy's round body hit the wall of the passage, he punched the ground with both hands. Changed direction and continued to rush up. That speed. It's not even slower than Guy's flying speed. Seeing Luffy like this, a trace of trust flashed in Luo's eyes. As expected of the head of the straw hat, he is indeed a man who can be trusted. However, he was still vigilant. Having worked with Guy Saw for about 2 years, he naturally knew that the gas toxin on Guy Saw was no longer a common poison. After various experiments, there were many kinds of biological toxins that he did not know about. Mineral toxins, plant toxins. Each toxin has been tested on humans. Through the most scientific deployment, all kinds of attributes are fully filled. Even he felt quite tricky. Besides, he knew that Guy also had a powerful and undeniable trump card. All experiments are actually done to accomplish that. He had to leave as soon as possible with the people he was with. Because, before that thing is born, all people will suffer. He took a few breaths. Looking in the direction where Luffy disappeared, there was a hint of worry in his eyes. But soon he laughed again. The straw hat, you can beat Guy. He said with certainty. Subsequently, with the baton, he took the centaur on the ground and returned to the depths of the base. He has another thing to do. That is, destroy Guy's device to make an artificial devil fruit. One of his missions here. Just for this. So, just run away. When he arrived at the underground base, Luo Zhong told Lu Chen and the others about what was going on outside. If Guy leaves, the poisonous weapon will definitely be released by him. The entire Ice and Fire Island will soon fall into the final desperate situation. This was what he was most worried about before. And now. They also have only one option to escape. Because no one can resist the power of that poisonous weapon. As that's so, Lu Chen, Zoro, Sanji and the others bowed their heads slightly. They were thinking about what to do. Brook covered his cheeks in horror and exclaimed exaggeratedly, "Oh my god. It's actually a terrifying poison, the kind that will die if you touch it. It's so scary, although I have already died once." The centaur was already panicking. Impossible. It's absolutely impossible. How could Lord Geisa leave us? They looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. Some people even rushed to the passage without hesitation, wanting to use this to verify that Luo's words were deceiving them. Unfortunately, as soon as they rushed to the entrance of the passage, they fell directly to the ground. Added a burden to Luo. The brown beard on the ground glanced indifferently and sneered. If it was him before, he would never believe it. But seeing the tragic deaths of his subordinates on his ship, he could no longer trust Guy with that hypocritical mask. As for those resurrected zombies, they are still talking calmly. 193 What? Ice and Fire Island is desperate. A deadly poison. What does that have to do with these dead people? They don't need to breathe. Even, it has been dead for a long time. There is no need to be afraid at all. So they don't care about it all. Then where are you going? Nami asked. She saw Luo stretch out his hand to treat the centaurs and just let them leave, but she walked towards the laboratory deep in the base. Couldn't help but be worried. I'm going to destroy Guy's machine that makes the artificial devil fruit. He casually put the knife on his shoulder. Things like this will create more vicious pirates, and there is no need for such a thing in this world. After speaking, as soon as he turned around, he disappeared into the square. Then what do we do now? Zoro and the others looked at Lu Chen, and Zoro even took out Kaden Kyokutsu. He said in a deep voice, "Isn't it poisonous gas? In front of me, it can be cut off. I'll open the way later." Seeing Zoro being so reckless, Nami quickly stopped him. She looked at Lu Chen beside her and frowned. "Lu Chen, can't you hold a lot of things in your Kamui space? Then can you pack all the people here?" This thought made Lu Chen startled. Chapter 358 Art is the explosion. This is also a method. Lu Chen thought for a moment. You can try. The Kamui space was the same space they were in, no different. Even because the Kamui space is rather unique. Its place is above reality. It's like a parallel world. Lu Chen can walk through the space hollow completely, and safely leave the base that is shrouded in poisonous gas. As for the others, after entering the Kamui space, you can also be safe and sound. The original situation of death. In front of Kamui space, it becomes a relaxing tour in an instant. Maybe Guy didn't even think about it. Walk. Use the Kamui to suck everyone into the Kamui, even the resurrected zombies. Walk directly with the void. all the way along the ground of the base shuttle to the ground. Lu Chen just came out. The ground in front of you suddenly swelled. A muffled sound rang in the ear. Not right. Lu Chen's heart sank. Hollow again without hesitation. Next second, the whole piece of the earth banged loudly, and the ground was bombarded high. The dirt mixed with the white snow rustled down. The hard clods were smashed into all directions like cannonballs. The smoke in the distance was riddled with holes. But they made up for it by being gulped at the smoker by the smoker. Gladius opened his hands in an arrogant smile. Smoker, you Marine Vice Admiral is not good. With your strength, if you want to enter our Don Quixote family, you can only be the bottom of the bottom. He mocked Marine Vice Admiral with impunity. Smoker's face was also dark as iron. This guy's explosions are endless. Even, his ability is also unstoppable. Any ground he touched could turn into a bomb. When he was fighting Gladius just now, the other party just stepped on the ground, and when he landed on it, the earth that turned into a minefield exploded without knowing when. His smoke is strong, but its weakness is that it is not cohesive enough. Once spread out, power will be weakened. This problem makes Smoker quite difficult. But facing Gladius, how could he, as Marine, bow his head in front of the pirates? Gladius, your attack is nothing but the same, so far it hasn't hurt me half a point. Do you think you really won? Smoker sneered. The bident went straight out of his hand and smashed into Gladius's face. In the face of this ordinary smash, Gladius jumped back and dodged without hesitation. The two prongs are made entirely of high-purity sea stone. It has a very high miraculous effect against people who have eaten devil fruit. Just before, he accidentally hit his arm twice, and it felt as if his arm had been soaked in seawater. Not a single bit of strength. It took a while to recover. He didn't dare to take it hard. But he reacted extremely quickly. While dodging, he threw two metal balls with his backhand and smashed them into Smoker's chest. Under his touch, the two metal balls had turned into two violent bombs, and at the same time as they exploded, iron fragments would fly out in all directions. More lethal than bullets. But Smoker's smoke fruit isn't afraid of such an attack at all. His body turned into smoke in midair, and two metal balls shuttled through his body. He grabbed the seastone spear and smashed it on Gladius's head. Bang! This time it hit Gladius's head, making a loud metal crash. Gladius backed up, bleeding from the corners of his mouth. His head was actually broken. Although Smoker's attack was only a few centimeters, it actually hit his head. With one blow, Gladius' skull was cracked and blood dripped. Ha ha ha. Smoker saw this scene and hurriedly pursued it. Now, what else do you have to say? As soon as he approached, he saw Gladius's head, the wormwood-like hair, rapidly swelling and hard. Subsequently, in the bang sound, it turned into countless flying needles and stabbed at each other. These flying needles are extremely fast, and they are densely attacking Smoker. Just for an instant, pierce Smoker's smoky body. Riddled with holes. Humph, bug carving trick. Smoker snorted. Such an attack would not hurt him at all. Just swallowed two puffs of smoke. The damaged body recovered in an instant. Cigar. It is his best blood medicine. He was about to shoot again, only to find Gladius swelled up in front of him. Like a huge sphere, Smoker was taken aback for a moment. This guy, do you want to blow yourself up? Gladius sneered. This time, it was his turn to take the initiative to approach Smoker. Backquote, Marine, come pick me up and try this trick. 35. While approaching Smoker, at the wrists of his hands, a mechanism device was still firing projectiles. Blast Smoker's body to smithereens. Let him not be able to pick up the speed at all, and distance himself from him. Not good. Smoker's eyes moved, and he could only swallow the cigar in a big mouth, so that his smoke body would not be blown up. As for Lu Chen on the ground, that's how he popped his head out again. He looked ashamed. Although strong, Kamui is able to ignore the collision of anything. But as a person, no matter how strong he is, he still needs to breathe. The moment he took his breath out of his head just now, he faced the violent explosion on the ground. And just right at the center of the explosion. Good guy. That was earth-shattering. If he hadn't held his breath for a while, maybe his skull would have been overturned by the opposite side. But, the familiar feeling of the explosion made Lu Chen ponder. Could it be that Deidara also crossed to Nuo Hao and came? Deidara, among Hokage, is an artist who likes explosive art, and his favorite is to bomb enemies with high explosive clay mixed with chakra. Deidara of that era showed the same way of explosion as it is now. Lu Chen frowned. But, you shouldn't even think about it. He crossed over because of the system, and the opposite was because of what? This isn't a comic. Right now, Lu Chen suddenly felt something dangerous on his head, which made his heart tremble. Look up. A guy with a Super Saiyan hairstyle like in 7 Dragon Ball, the whole person is as fat as a balloon. Even if it's a long way off, he could also feel the explosion in the opponent's body. Such a feeling. It made Lu Chen suddenly have the illusion of Deidara. He couldn't help but blurt out. FK, The Art of Exploding. Chapter 359 Hunting Guy, Gladius Wrath. FK, The Art of Explosions. Lu Chen really didn't expect it. He just escaped underground with a group of people who hid in Kamui space. In the blink of an eye, it was time to face the full-body blast of Gladius. Lu Chen's mind moved. A shot of open black lens bracket fire style great fireball technique close black lens bracket to Gladius. Boom. 35. After a loud bang, There were violent explosions within a radius of several kilometers. It's almost like the effect of a meteorite impact. And millions of times of blasting hair is coming one after another. Lu Chen hid in the Kamui space right away. By the way, Smoker was also included. After all, Smoker will be a big customer of the training dojo in the future. Who is it? Gladius' angry voice resounded through the air. Thank you. 35. After Smoker came out of Kamui space with the straw hats. Looking at the tragic situation in front of me, I couldn't help but feel a little scared. Although Smoke Fruit gave him a very strong protection ability. But in this equivalent AoE Big Bang, even if you can resist it, you will end up in a half-dead situation. Gladius, who had just used up all his hair and was now bald, saw Lu Chen appear. There was a slight dignified look in his eyes. Red-eyed trainer, why are you on the island of 193? Hearing this, Smoker couldn't help but peek at Lu Chen. He was also very curious about the answer. Not waiting for Lu Chen to speak. The ground suddenly began to tremble. I saw that the mountain that was hiding the sad manufacturing room was suddenly cut in half from the waist. Oh, it seems that Luo has already succeeded. 39. Lu Chen is not surprised by this. He ignored Gladius, who had been stunned by the force in front of him. Fast forward in Luffy's direction. Don't try to escape. 35. Luffy accelerated all the way with a rubber bazooka. Finally caught up with Guy, who was running wildly near the laboratory. Rubber. Grizzly gun. 9. Guy scatters when he senses Luffy's attack. Simply transform into gas form to avoid direct hits. Damn it, Straw Hat Boy. Seeing that Luffy was following him all the way, Guy also realized that he would defeat Luffy if he wasn't here. I'm afraid I don't have much chance to escape from the chaos. Sir Guy, several Centaur patrol teammates who were guarding the area discovered their savior. Quick, someone attacked Mr. Geisa, come and help. The few Centaur teammates left in the lab began to charge Luffy. He is not your savior. He is the culprit of your misery. Luffy had nothing to do with the Centaurs either. After all, they are all victims, and their sins do not lead to death. So Luffy can only focus on knocking them out. But what the Centaurs didn't expect was their savior Geisa directly opened the big move in order to avoid future troubles. Open black lens bracket number empty world, close black lens bracket. In an instant, the oxygen in a large area near Guy's sprinkler was completely drained. Several Centaur players in the deep and empty world were directly suffocated and fell to the ground. At the same time, he also became a poisonous gas demon. Unscrupulously spread the well-known poison gas to the surrounding. At this moment, the Centaur who were still alive were shaken. They never imagined that Guy would be regarded as a god and a savior by themselves. They don't even care about their lives. My lord, Guy saw Osama. Why? 55. It's so noisy. You are all my experimental subjects, and your lives belong to me. 39. It was me who gave you the hope of life again. Now, it's time for you to repay me. Guy, Luffy gritted his teeth just in time to pull himself out of the void world with his rubber arms. You're a total A** hole. 35. Before the words were finished, Luffy turned on armament hockey and directly entered the second gear mode. Rubber. Mechanism. Just when Luffy was about to beat Guy up. A clean, strong hand suddenly rested on Luffy's shoulder, interrupting his movement. Lu Chen, why are you here? Luffy was a little surprised by the appearance of Lu Chen. The island is almost covered with poison gas ACBD. You go help Trafalgar Law and use your rubber powers to gather all the victims. As for him, feel free to leave it to me to solve it. As for Lu Chen, Luffy basically never doubted his judgment. Run away immediately. Lu Chen was about to turn around to face Guy. Gas lasso. 99. Number empty world. Explosion castanets. 6 open black lens bracket gas gun close black lens bracket. When Guy saw Lu Chen for the first time, he knew that the current situation was almost a near-death situation. So he took advantage of Lu Chen not paying attention, and immediately released several big moves in a row. Especially the gas spray gun. The linear gas laser cannon has an extremely fast attack speed. It also comes with scorching heat. In his vision, even Lu Chen can take over this set of combo skills. That can also take the opportunity to exchange for a few seconds of precious escape time. But what he didn't expect was that after the smoke dissipated, Lu Chen was lying on the ground covered in blood. If it weren't for his chest heaving slightly, Guy Sadu thought that his set of skills directly gave Lu Chen a second. Seeing this situation, Guy Saw gave up the idea of running away. Instead, he added a few exploding castanets directly and ruthlessly. At the same time, the deadly poisonous gas continued to spread. An output to Lu Chen. Ha, is this the red-eye trainer who was born out of nowhere? It's not vulnerable at all. Not even the Straw Hat Boy just now. Just based on your ability, I really don't know why those people are willing to obey you. That's it. Suddenly, Lu Chen's voice sounded behind Guy's back. Have you had enough? The world in Guy Saw's eyes suddenly changed. There is no corpse of Lu Chen on the ground at all. He turned to look at Lu Chen. It was found that Lu Chen's bewitching red eyes had strange patterns flowing. What did you do to me? Guy's voice is trembling. Just a little illusion. Lu Chen answered Guy casually. And called out Susanoo. Although Lu Chen did not open Conqueror's Hockey and Armament Hockey, Geisa still feels the threat of ultimate from Susanoo's knife. He had no doubt that he might not even be able to take a knife from Susanoo. The near-substantial chakra energy made Gaisa feel a burst of heart palpitations. What do you want? I tell you, I can do so many experiments on Ice and Fire Island. It's all because I'm hard enough backstage, even in 7 Warlords of the Sea. Doflamingo, right, Lu Chen interrupted indifferently, and the person behind him is Kaido. You've been helping Kaido build an army of beasts all these years. A look of shock appeared in Guy's eyes. He really did not expect that this powerful Red Eye trainer. He even knew such secret information. It's even clear that Kaido exists. Chapter 360 Black Reward. Willing to be fulfilled. Why do you even know this kind of information? Guy Saw is even doubting whether Lu Chen is a CPO at this moment. Because Doflamingo was the undercover agent I sent to Kaido's side. 99. Lu Chen was perfunctory. After all, it was impossible to tell guys that he was a transmigrator. When Guy Saw heard this, a great uproar broke out in his heart. No less than Gladius opened a blasting rock celebration in his heart. In a short moment, Gaisa thought a lot. For example, why he had been lurking well before and had never been discovered. It was during this time that they were discovered by the Straw Hats. Like why today? First Smoker suddenly appeared nearby. Then Gladius also came to the door because of the goods. Smoker and Gladius had a big fight. For example, Trafalgar Law and himself came to the Ice and Fire Island one after another. Already the 7 Warlords of the Sea, he was willing to help himself. And the secret stronghold that he spent years building up. In less than a day it was turned into a pile of rubble. What a fool. Think of the artificial devil fruit that you have been doing for so many years. As a result, it was only now that I found out that the delivery person was actually an undercover agent of the Red Eye trainer. I'm afraid, all this is Lu Chen's conspiracy. He has been following me from a very early age. Use me as the opening and bait to lure Kaido into the bait. Guy Saw thinks of this and really wants to cry without tears. Okay, it's almost time. Lu Chen didn't even know that with a casual sentence, he directly broke Guy's defenses. It's time to go back and find Luo Weiwei. After finishing speaking, Lu Chen controlled Gaisa again with illusion and threw him into the Kamui space. Turn on hollow fast movement. In fact, Lu Chen had thought about whether to cut Guy directly. Anyway, in the original book, Trafalgar Law left Guy to die to threaten Doflamingo. According to the current combat power of the Straw Hat Pirates. If you take it seriously, and come to just one more fight. Even if he doesn't make a move, Doflamingo is in a bad way. But after careful consideration, Lu Chen still decided to spare Guy Saw for the time being. After all, the super mass killing weapon, Ko-Katakana Middle.ro, designed by Gaisa has basically been manufactured. If something unexpected happens in the future, open black lens bracket KO Katakana Middle.ro close black lens bracket is released. Then I have to ask Guy to use RO Katakana Middle.co to neutralize the poison gas. Kamui space can absorb poison gas is not false. But Kamui spaces have other important roles as well. It can't be used as a gas containment room for a lifetime. Besides, the practice range in the virtual space is an important source of berry for him. I want to live a leisurely life in the world of One Piece. At the same time, I want to help Luffy and the Straw Hats to realize their dreams. Not enough berries. Yo, Luffy saw Lu Chen's figure slowly emerge. It has been solved. 99. Lu Chen. Before Luffy could finish speaking, he was bumped aside by the impatient Nami. Are you alright? Have you been injured? Have you come across the poison gas that Guy is throwing? Nami's eyes were full of concern. In this regard, Lu Chen's heart warmed. Although he didn't really know why Nami's attitude changed so quickly, it even reached the point where he was a little uncomfortable. But someone can care about themselves after every hard battle. This feeling is not bad. Not to mention a top beauty like Nami. Don't worry, I'm fine, I've already contained Guy in the Kamui space. Let's get Ro ready in a minute to get the seastone chains to hold Guy. Hearing this, Nami was relieved. Zoro and Sanji, who were nearby, looked at each other. Ah, it hurts, why can't my legs move? Damn it, the poison gas that Guy is throwing is so powerful that I can't even hold a knife in my hand. Sanji and Zoro were kneeling and beating their legs while the Kaden Kyokutsu in their hands dropped. As soon as Chopper heard they were both hurt, he instinctively wanted to stand up. As a result, both Zoro and Sanji stared back with their eyes. Nami was taken aback when he played against the centaurs before. The two of them did come into contact with a lot of gas. It's possible that they were both struggling before. After seeing Lu Chen's return, I finally couldn't hold it anymore. Immediately ready to go forward to check the injury of the two. But before she could take 2 steps, the ground suddenly stretched out countless arms and grabbed Sanji and Zoro. Miss Nami is already very tired, and it happens that I also know a little medical skills. Come on, let me show you where the injury is. Robin dragged them both towards the cave as he spoke. Seeing Robin's shot, Zoro and Sanji's expressions changed. No, I don't seem to have. Robin didn't give them a chance to resist at all. Cover their mouths directly, and gave Nami a quiet wink. Nami blushed suddenly, seeing that the members of the Straw Hats are so harmonious. Lu Chen felt happy from the bottom of his heart. When I first came into contact with Straw Hats. 0. Ask for flowers. Many partners maintained a considerable degree of vigilance against the sudden appearance of the black-clothed red-eyed man. But in so many days of getting along, everyone has recognized the existence of Chen. Even Nami, who had the worst relationship before. Now they will take the initiative to care about Chen's physical condition. Ding. Detected that the host successfully established a deep bond with the Straw Hat Pirates. And all partners are more than 80% favorable. Open black lens bracket reward host lucky draw privilege once, close black lens bracket. The system's voice suddenly interrupted Chen's ant laugh. A system reward that has not been seen for a long time. And it is still a lottery. Compared to the initial novice reward, the privilege of getting the lottery this time is indeed beyond Chen's expectations. In this case, if Chen can fill up the favorability of every member of the Straw Hats, it is estimated that there will be another system reward. Zero. Holding back his excitement, Chen used the lottery privilege. The big turntable in front of him started to turn. However, this time the big turntable is different from the novice period. Among the hundreds of reward areas, the golden area only occupied 10. And the most special black area is only 1. The most numerous are still purple and blue. Chen is not surprised. After all, it is more tedious to brush up with the protagonist group. But as long as it doesn't touch the bottom line of the partners. At most, it takes a little more time to do it. Stop. Followed Chen's order. The pointer in front of him slowly fell, and finally stopped in the black area. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations to host for winning the black reward, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. When you get a black reward in the first draw, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Host can customize the reward direction according to your own wishes, close black lens bracket. The final reward will satisfy the host's wishes to a certain extent. Chen was stunned. If it is said that he has never extravagantly asked for the reward of the black area, that's obviously not possible, but he knew that the probability was too low, and he didn't even think about the golden reward. In Chen's expectation, being able to draw the purple reward this time is already a victory. After pondering for a while, Chen had already thought about the reward content. The reward direction is ability enhancement. Open black lens bracket. Ding. A black reward is being randomly generated for the host, close black lens bracket. The next second, a black card appeared in front of Chen's eyes. Wish card. Ability upgrade. This card can upgrade the host ability once. Close black lens bracket. The stronger the ability, the longer it takes to upgrade. Close black lens bracket. Some special abilities require the host to complete system customization tasks independently. Note. This card is automatically destroyed after being used once. Close black lens bracket factory.